Great Friday morning to you, everybody. Welcome back to your new midday hang. Annie and Elsten here with you for a Friday, 4 full hours of local San Diego sports talk with you on your number one sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. So is Braden Soprenet. I'm Craig Elsten. We are all together in our Odyssey studios overlooking sunny Murphy Canyon. It's going to be a blazing hot weekend, according to what I saw. Everybody stay hydrated, keep the sunscreen close, and let's hope we have some fun downtown as the Padres continue their series with the Milwaukee Brewers. Certainly a fun ending to the roller coaster last night when it slid into the station with a third straight walk-off, Annie.
Ooh, that one was something. Happy Friday, everyone. Good morning. I thought it was the first day of summer today, but I think it was yesterday. Yesterday. Okay.
Today is the summer solstice, though, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, you're right.
June 21st, longest day of the year.
You know what? What's better than baseball summer nights?
Yes.
When the sun goes down. It's a little hot still, but, sun's down. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and then you get a walk-off win, your third consecutive walk-off win at home. If you just forget about everything that happened in between those walk-off wins, you've got a very different view of this team right now.
You really do. You really do. It's like, wow, I've never seen a team on such a roll as the San Diego Padres. A 1-5 road trip excluded.
Excluded. And you know what? Everyone excluded it last night in the postgame, which I thought was hilarious. But also I get it. Like, you're riding so high after a win like that. Your adrenaline's so high. You should celebrate every second of that to fight back and win that game. And I was happy for Jake Cronenworth. Some great shots of him screaming toward the dugout, and watching if it went fair or foul. So that was a fun one to watch. But yeah, it kept you on your toes, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. Well, here's what makes yesterday such a great win. There have been some bummer losses the last few weeks, and I think, it's always pretty easy to identify a bummer loss for the San Diego Padres. A blown save in the ninth, the Matsui game in Kansas City, obviously the Tuesday game in Philadelphia, all of the Angels losses. But yesterday was a really big win for this team in the context that nothing matters. LOL, 81-81 feels like our inevitable path, but if you're looking for a place to dig in and create a foothold, it feels like yesterday was a game that the Padres would normally not win. Mm-hmm. It was the first game that they won that Adam Mazur started. And that's not a knock on Adam Mazur, but he hasn't pitched at a big league quality level, save kind of a lucky game in Anaheim. But they won. They won with him on the mound. The third straight walk-off. This crazy power surge that's happening in San Diego that I cannot, probably shall not, explain. And then a bullpen that honestly was too tired to win a big league game yesterday, and it showed at the end. You really felt, even from the first inning up 4-1, like, not enough, need more runs.
And you saw also how the Brewers have been able to stay in games. They do not quit. They keep on fighting. They had traffic, I think throughout the game, if I remember correctly right now, and kept it close right there with the Padres ahead. But then you felt like when they started to come back, like in that ninth inning, I was thinking, oh man, I thought they were on their way to one more run in that inning, but Estrada was able to keep that to a tie ball game in the ninth, and then that bottom of the ninth for the Padres, just obviously a special instance there that we've seen now the last 3 games at home. But it's interesting, you can't win games like that all the time. You just can't. Like, they're thrilling, they're exciting, they're so much fun, and you want to celebrate it because it is. It's like, that moment feels so amazing, and it's fun for everyone, for the fans, for the team, for everyone. But at the same time, it taxes you. I mean, it taxes your bullpen, it taxes your pitching staff. If it went to extra innings, I was like, what are they going to do? Where are they going to go with the extra innings? Maybe
it was
Kolek?
Brito or Kolek.
Oh, yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. So you kind of start to see a little bit of how the Brewers have been able to do it as well. And they're going to be tight games, I think, for the rest of the weekend. But happy for the Padres that they're able to get that going and to put 2 wins together, that last one on the road and the one at home, a good confident feeling. And I don't know either with the home run, what is going on. I mean, that was pretty wild to watch. You know, Manny, all the talk around Manny, it was great to see him get one off and get that score up early for the Padres. But then you had Jackson Merrill, very next batter. Then you had, and you knew that, I'm sure we'll get into it, but that double play turned out to be huge for them in the first inning.
Won the game.
Right. The double play that was kind of booted by the Brewers and left guys, let Manny get to base left guys on base and let Manny have a chance there. And
Yep.
Because they would have been out. That inning would have been over.
A double play that was made and a double play that wasn't made.
Yes.
In many ways determined the game. We'll talk even more about that next segment when we get a little more into Manny. But it was an easy double play that wasn't turned, and it was an almost impossible double play that was turned. And that truly wound up being the difference in last night's game. But you talk about the power. And last week in our Padres deep dive, we got into the inexplicable ballpark effects that are taking place so far this year, and noted that Petco Park was the number one park for allowing homers this season in terms of by rate, allowing homers this season. And the only one that was allowing homers at a higher rate was down in Mexico City, where it's over a mile high. And by the way, Coors Field is near the bottom of the list. Everything is upside down. Everything is crazy. And we started joking. We literally joked yesterday, like, well, we're coming back to the Power Park. So guess we're going to see a bunch of pops. And the Padres hit 4 homers.
It's wild. And then you see Fernando hit his longest one at Petco Park, 446 feet. He went past he had the original longest one, and then he surpassed that for himself, which is great. I mean, you love it. But it's wild. We were seeing so many of the opponents hitting those home runs, and now you're just seeing the Padres. How many of those home runs, or how many of those runs yesterday were home? They were all home runs except for Jerkson's.
Yeah.
Double it was a single. No, it was a double. It was a 1-run double that Yelich kind of lost in the lights. It looked like.
Yeah. But that was fortunate as well.
It was, and that's kind of a little home field advantage for you right there.
Well, that was a fortunate game for the San Diego Padres. They entered that game with an almost impossible win condition on the mound. They had a rookie who was pitching to a 9 ERA, who was walking everybody against a Brewers team. And I did think the TV broadcast did a nice job of nutshelling the Brewers very quickly with numbers. We tried to do it in a segment yesterday, but I actually thought they did it even better. Second in the league in on-base percentage, third in on-base percentage, second in steals. This is how the Brewers work. Yes, they have some power, but honestly, they're not built the way that past Brewer teams were, around 430 home run hitters or around always getting the long ball. They walk, they steal, and then they get runs in. They're doing kind of the idealized version of what the Padres want to do offensively. They just have a ton more speed than San Diego does. Everyone on their team almost can steal bases. So you saw that Milwaukee is a team that can put up against a mediocre pitching night, a lot of runs. And to be held to 6 was a reasonable result for San Diego. But it was Major on the front end, and then there was a back end that had no Suarez, Estrada holding his hand up to pitch for a third straight game. Oh, look, I held my hand up and the robot camera moved. And also Wandy Peralta working heavy pitch load out of 3 of the last 4 days, pitching for the third time in 4th days with heavy pitch loads. So the bullpen was so taxed coming in that you really wondered if it was a 1 or 2 run game, could this club carry that across the line? And the answer was, factually no. They couldn't do it. Run allowed in the 8th, 2 runs allowed in the 9th by Jeremiah Estrada. To Estrada's credit, it wasn't 3 runs or 4 or 5 allowed in the 9th. He came back to punch out 2 guys with the go-ahead run at second base, winds up earning a win as a result on Crony's walk-off. But it really kind of felt like a lot of hanging on. A lot of power and a lot of hanging on last night.
It really did. And that's where I'm like, you win games in different ways. You don't complain about the wins. You get there however you're going to get there. And you do wonder what the state of things might be, in terms of just getting to that win. And yeah, you got to fight through it, and it shows a lot of fortitude when you do, right? Like Mike Schilt called it the grit squad.
I don't know if that's going to stick.
I don't know if that's going to stick either. And it's to be noted too. This is their fourth home walk off of the season, and it makes you look at 2022 and remember the 12 walk-offs of the season, 5 of those from Jorge Alfaro. So they had a lot of grit that year too. But yeah, I think that was kind of the one way to look at it. Is it took a lot to get there. And it took a lot. Now, partly some of that is you're in a 13-game stretch. Your bullpen has been taxed. Using Jeremiah Estrada for the 3rd day in a row, not ideal. It is not ideal in any circumstance.
He was deathly sick a week ago.
Yes. He's
pitched like 5 out of 6 games since.
It's a little bit of a game that you're playing here, because they're not like tops in the league in bullpen usage. I looked last night, but they have obviously had to go to their bullpen a lot more lately because their starting pitching has not been able to get out of the 5th inning, or they've been 5 innings or less for the most part, except for Matt Waldron. And it's a game of chicken, because you're using that bullpen, but you got to remember you have a whole second half of the season to go, and even the best bullpens start to tire. Bullpens are streaky by nature. They're going to be streaky all season long, but you just have a little bit of concern, at least I do, for the usage of late and the sustainability of that going forward.
It's a great setup, Annie. It's almost like we had a rundown. We could both look at that. We're going to get all the way into the bullpen in our Padres Deep Dive today. In fact, the whole Padres Deep Dive is about the bullpen today. I was motivated. I was listening to the boys this morning. I was listening to Mike Schilt, and I'm like, let's give everyone here. We're almost at the halfway point, as Ben said. Halfway point comes this weekend. Let's look at it. Halfway into the season, what's the status of the Padres bullpen? Everyone's worried about it right now. It feels like the topic of concern right now inside the Padres fandom. So let's go there, and we will do that. And by the end of the 11 a.m. hour, each guy, we've got a scouting report on what's happening with each guy. In fact, one of our guys in the chat, Matt Schwartz, right onto it in terms of one of the hidden stats that we had to present for you coming up at 11 a.m. Wandy Peralta struggling with 2 outs in an inning. So little things, but interesting things that we can get to, and we will get to in the 11 a.m. deep dive. That is coming up on the show. Also coming up, special night for baseball last night at Rickwood in Birmingham, Alabama. We'll bring you the sound from that. We've got the 12 o'clock Sports Fix, of course, weekend preview edition to come. All of the baseball news. We've got giant world soccer tournaments happening in the Eastern Hemisphere and in the Western Hemisphere. We'll get you caught up to date on both of those. Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight. We'll have a preview of that for you. A big trade in the NBA. Plenty to get to. Later in the show, we can hear a little bit of what Mike Schilt had to say on today's Manager's Report. Mind the Gap is today's silly game. We'll play that around 12:45 today, the game of multi-generational trivia. Just 6 more show days left to qualify for our end of the month Vegas giveaway, grand prize drawing, 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. So get lined up for that at 12:45. 1 o'clock hour, we'll have our Friday Crossing Streams segment with Media Melanie. She'll be along around 1:20 with some streaming television recommendations for you. And, of course, we'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. So we got a full show planned for you, 4 hours. It's going to be a good one. And when we come back, a moment for Manny Machado. Of all the things that happened yesterday, what happened with Manny in the first inning might have been the absolute most important of all. And we'll get to that when we continue. Annie and Elsten heading to our first break. Thanks for joining us on a Friday morning here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:20 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten here with you on a Friday morning, rolling into the weekend. Got any weekend plans, Annie?
No, I think I'll be down at Petco. And then I think, I'm not sure. Good question. I think a little happy hour with the girlfriends.
Nice.
At some point. I don't know where we're going yet.
Yeah.
There's a
happy
new
hour.
Mexican food restaurant. It's not new, but it's down in La Mesa Village.
I've been there.
Okay.
I've been there. Yes.
Is it good?
Yes.
Okay.
It's good. Me and Mitzi went about a month ago
It's not
on a date
super
night.
new. Oh, date night. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like a very
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Oh, and now you're going to make me look it up
I know,
because
I
I
don't
don't want
remember what it's
to. I don't
called.
want to not give her the chef, and she's like a Michelin star level chef who's
Oh,
come
yeah.
home and La Mesa Village
Sorry, y'all. We're gonna have to listen to this.
Mexican restaurant.
Well, it's the summer solstice. So
right,
Longest day of the year. Go do some fun
Right. Get the girlfriends together. Go do a little drink.
Casa Gabriela.
Casa Gabriela. Yeah.
There's plenty of great Mexican restaurants in my beloved hometown of La Mesa, including Mario's, which is right there, including Marietta's, which I go to all the time, La Mesita,
Oh yeah.
Rigoberto's. But Casa Gabriela is new, and it was really good. We really enjoyed it there.
What about you? Any weekend plans?
I'm going to try and find a round, but we're getting stuff organized for this vacation coming up. Like Mitzi's
Yes.
just.
Where are you going? What's happening?
We are going to Northern California, not next week, but the week after, first week of July. We are going up to Lassen Volcanic National Park,
Ooh.
which is at the very top of our beloved Golden State. It's way north of Sacramento and way north of San Francisco. So if you thought that was Northern California, there's a whole another third of the state that's above it.
It's Baja, Oregon. Let's be honest.
It really is. It is Baja, Oregon, and we've rented an Airbnb in Redding, and we will be there. And there's some really cool caves up there. There's all sorts of things beyond just the Volcanic National Park, but we'll be spending the week up there. Third straight year doing a national park early in July. We did.
Looks nice.
Yeah,
It does.
all sorts of. I mean, I was there when I was a kid, and it's beautiful. I remember its beauty even back then. But yeah, can't wait to go up there. There is a super geothermal area that's very, very similar to Yellowstone. And if you've ever been to Yellowstone and seen those sulfur pools and
My
the
mom loves
the
those.
sparkling green, but it's all sulfury,
Yeah.
so you almost want to wear a mask just because it's so sulfury. And Matt Schwartz in the chat brought it up the first time I mentioned this on the show. It's called Bumpus Hell is the name of that place.
I'm thinking of the wrong thing. What about? Aren't there ones where you can get it? Like it's like a
the hot
springs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's different than the
Yeah,
sulfur.
you do not
Yes.
want to put your hand
No,
inside
you will.
these.
Okay, never
no.
mind.
Yeah, no.
No, that's like-
It will burn away. But yeah, so that's what we're doing the first week. So you guys will hold down the fort that week for me, and then I'll be back for the most challenging week of Sports Talk Radio, which is All-Star Week,
Yes, that's fun.
when literally nothing is happening in the world of sports.
We can break down the home run derby for 3
4
hours.
straight days. 4 straight days, nothing happens in the world of sports.
Hopefully, the Padres will have some attendees,
Yes.
and we'll get some content out of that. Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you, it's the most challenging.
That's up there.
It's up there. I'm telling,
do you drive there?
so we're gonna rent a car and we're gonna drive. And my wife's mom will be coming along, and so we'll leave out of Long Beach.
Okay.
And I was just talking to Mitzi before I left today. Like, we really haven't hammered down the very beginning and the very end of this trip because we can't just drive to Redding. Like, you could, but it'd be like leaving at 6 a.m, getting there at 7 at night or 8 at night.
All day of driving.
Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So I want to stop. I want to make a stop.
You gotta
you
be
know?
able to. It's more fun to enjoy the drive,
Right.
and not be in this big hurry to get to a place. Enjoy
That's
it.
it.
Stop at a couple spots. Take it in.
So, like, I was thinking that Sacramento would be our way station because it's kind of halfway, and then it's going to be a Sunday, like nothing's open. So we're trying to figure out that part. That
Too
part's
bad you
TBT.
can't-
Right,
Too bad you
TBD.
can't go to an A's game.
I mean, we could go to a River Cats game potentially, a future A's game.
Yes. Could get a glimpse of the stadium pre A's being in it. A scouting report.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll go to Raleigh Field. I don't know. We're still figuring that out. Chris has an option. He says stop by the Olive Pit. Matt says all the silly games during All-Star break. Yeah.
There's 4 hours of silly games.
We'll just do a silly game an hour, and we'll crank through. It'll be Game Show Network here on Annie and Elsten.
Fast money will be 35 questions.
Yeah, that's
We'll
right.
literally assemble a new audience
That's right.
and ask them a set of 35 questions. That would be really good for you, actually. That would set you up for a couple months.
Can you imagine if Braden, we had that corporate Odyssey meeting, and if at the
Why
end of
didn't
it,
we do that
as
then?
people walked out,
Oh
Braden
my
was like, "Can I just
God.
grab you for a survey?"
Braden,
Should have done that.
exit survey, 35 fast money questions.
We should have David Field played match game.
That would have been
yeah.
fun. Hi, David Field, CEO of Odyssey.
CEO of Odyssey.
Please enjoy these double entendre jokes
That's
Here's-
right.
here's
about
where
Jonty
your-
Jurickson and manager Mike.
Here's where your money is going.
Yeah, he's like, fire those guys. Okay. That's
Do we
my
need a
one
sports
takeaway.
station in San Diego? Do we really need a sports station in San Diego?
All right. Without further ado, back to the Padres. Yesterday, Annie, we had a pretty lengthy conversation about Manny Machado on the show.
Yes, we did.
And that was based off of his commentary that he had given to a pair of reporters back in Philadelphia and in New York, being very honest about his physical issues so far this year, about the way the elbow is limiting him, about what he's working on to try and get back into that power slot that allows him to drive the ball to the opposite field. We talked further about how Manny needs to be in the lineup, how that's kind of the way he takes on his career, right? He doesn't take it on as being the vocal guy like Jurickson Profar, who I'd love to talk about it, the way he's taken that role and that leadership for the team. He doesn't do it in the ways that classical leaders do, but he does it by showing up, by playing when he's hurt, by being obviously in distress and still posting for his team. And it's something you're not going to get out of Manny Machado, right? It's baked into him.
His love language is posting. And I do think that he has leadership qualities that are, like you said, vocal and team meetings and being someone who speaks. But his main, yes, the way that he shows, I'm here for my teammates and I'm going to give everything I have, is getting on the field and being out there as many days of the season that he possibly can be. And before he went through these injuries the last 2 years, I mean, he had played more games than any position player, or it might be third. A lot of I think any player in Major League Baseball since 2015. So up until 2 years ago, and he only had, doesn't have that because he had to go on the injured list, right? But because he dealt with injuries, I should say. To play more games than any other major leaguer since 2015 for that stretch is wild. I mean, you think about that, that's wild.
It really is. So with all that, we talked about, is there a different version of this where Manny was on the injured list and then he comes back and he's in a healthier spot, or where he could take 10 days, and maybe get himself into a better spot for the second half of the season?
He did make one comment. I thought about it after the show yesterday. He did make one comment to, I believe it was Kevin Acee, where he was like, I'm going to figure this out even if I blow out my elbow again.
Yes. Yeah, he said that.
And I thought about it after the show. Manny, we do not want you to blow out your elbow again.
Right.
And if you are on track to blow out your elbow again, someone needs to pull you back from that.
Correct.
Hopefully that is not the case.
That was a very interesting thing for him to say. I felt like he was being hyperbolic at the end of,
I think he was. Yeah,
like,
I think he was.
If the world ends, I'll still be there. If my elbow blows out, I'll still be there.
But we do not want that.
No, we don't. No, we're very, 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 very much against that.
Yes.
But there was Manny Machado posted up at third base last night. There's a significant and somewhat vocal slice of Padres fandom that is very much against Manny Machado being in the lineup at all. Like, get rid of him, /bench him, /IL him. And there he was at third base. And I'm watching this game, Annie, in the top of the first inning as Adam Mazur is in the process of melting down, just like he had melted down his previous two starts. He gives up a hit, starts to lose the zone, gives up a second hit, then he walks a guy. gives up a run. The bases are loaded. He's missing the zone. He's lost his confidence. Rhys Hoskins is up. It's 1-0 Brewers, and he has a chance to slam it out of here and to make it a 5-0 game and to end the game before the Padres have even come to bat. Or rip one down the third base line, clear the bases or score 2 runs, keep the inning alive. Maybe Mazur has to come out in the first inning. And not only do the Padres lose this game, but maybe they lose the whole weekend because of the meltdown that happens in the first inning, right? Padres so vulnerable to a meltdown right now from their rotation. And what happens? Hoskins rips one down the third base line. And Manny Machado fields it with all of his energy, taking him to the Brewers' dugout, spins, and takes the improbable play, throws to second base. Most third basemen would either have tried to carry the ball to third base or throw to first because it was about the angle he had to make a real play that would have allowed a run to score and kept the inning alive. There was one out. He spins and dimes one to Cronenworth at second, who then makes a great play on his own.
Absolutely.
To pick the ball and to make the pivot, and throws low to Arise, and Arise makes a nice pick. But it's an A++ double play that's turned by the Padres. One of those top 2% double plays, very, very hard to turn.
And I don't know if another third baseman, I thought about it last night, I don't know if another third baseman makes that play and makes it, if Machado to Cronenworth happens that seamlessly.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think there's many.
Yeah, because he throws across his chest. He makes it look very easy. I know you're right. There are other third basemen that can make that play, but that angle sometimes, you're a little bit off or whatever. And I mean, the ball goes past Cronenworth or you just can't field it or whatever. I think it's a step above routine is what I'm trying to say.
It's 4 steps above routine.
Yeah, there you go.
What you're getting at, I believe, Annie, is many to most third basemen would not attempt to make that play. And the key to that is they may have set their feet and then thrown to second, or set their feet, realized they had no play at second, and thrown to first base. But Manny didn't set his feet. He pivoted, almost pirouetted on his toe. It was a graceful play to be able to spin and start that double play.
And he's so good at the timing of that, the instincts of that, where he's throwing across, and it happens so bang bang, and he's able to put it right where it needs to go. And
as Chris B says in the chat, Solano literally missed that play last weekend in New York. He did. Manny's that good at third base. You want him out there because he's one of the best and steadiest and smartest and most instinctive third baseman of the 21st century. It's not unfair to say that.
It's not. And again, he makes it look so easy. I know sometimes I take it for granted. I have to stop and go, wait a second. That was really hard to do because he makes it look so easy. Guess what he does when he makes these plays? He blows bubbles. He blows bubbles with his bubble gum as he's making these plays. It just looks like another ho-hum day for Manny Machado. But those are really, really difficult to do. And I think that, it's something that when you see it on a nightly basis, sometimes you're just like, well, that's just Manny being Manny making plays. But it is a much harder thing than your average third baseman would be able to do.
That play alone 100% saved Adam Mazur, because if that ball goes underneath his glove, at the minimum it's 2-0, but it's almost undoubtedly 3-0. 1 out, runners at the corners, and Mazur in hell. Mazur just in hot water up to his neck and his skin's boiling.
And they probably, he would have had to wear it, Mazur, for a little while at least.
Right.
He would have had to wear this game because they just didn't have the bullpen to or maybe you go to Kolek earlier or something like that, but he would have had to wear it for a while and it probably would have gotten out of reach.
What would have happened is Brito would have probably come in and tried to soak 3 innings, and then Kolek would have come in and tried to soak a couple innings, and he would have still had to go to one of the left-handers or to De Los Santos to cover the 9, and then the next 3 days, every single starter would go out there, including Vasquez, knowing that they had no choice but to throw 6 innings, whether they gave up 100 runs or whether they gave up no runs. So that play was not only a play that helped win yesterday's game, but could win tonight's game, tomorrow's game, Sunday's game. It was that important to play, but wait, there's more. The bottom of the first inning happens, and the Padres shouldn't have scored. They got a couple on, and then there's an out, and then Crony hits not a A++ double play, but a C-, meaning like as easy a double play grounder, one that a below average infield would make 95 out of 100 times. And Bryce Terang with the tailor-made ball right to him, the short pitch from second to short, everything lined up in front of him. He gags the play. He bobbles it. He gets the flip over. They still almost turn it. Crony goes down the line hard. He beats out the play by a half beat. When they showed the replay, it was, bip-bop. It was that quick. And next up, Manny Machado, 2 on instead of nobody. And boom, out of the yard, 3-run bomb, 3-1 instead of 1-0. He carries it down the right field line. The exact thing he talked about on the road trip. The ability to power the ball to opposite field. He got a high and outside fastball, edge of the zone, top left corner of the strike zone, and he powered it out to the Petco porch. That's not a fluke. That is a sign that Manny Machado is starting to regain that power.
Yeah, exactly. He talked about it a little bit after the game last night, and that is something that you look for, something kind of post,
signpost,
a signpost, sure. That when you are coming off of a difficult stretch, that things are clicking for you. The ability to go opposite field. And Manny, for him, that was something he was looking for. And he said after the game, now I have to do it consistently. But you got to think, him doing that in a big moment last night and being able to drive the ball opposite field is something that he's going, okay,
yeah.
Okay, we're working now. We're in motion, keep it going. 0-2 count, right? 2 outs, 0-2 count. Wait, yeah.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
absolutely.
Outs.
It was
2 outs, 0-2, yeah.
2 outs, 0-2.
And a big moment. And I think, look, it's great that they were able to take advantage of the booted ball. On that what would have been the inning over, So I think that that's what you want to do. And then you think about it from the other side, which is that inning could have just been over on when Cronenworth, on that double play or what would have been a routine, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's good for the Padres to be able to put that together and capitalize and make a pitcher or make a team pay for that. And then you shudder to think of the other side of it. But, those things happen in baseball every single day. I feel like, there are sometimes not even errors, but like that bobbled balls or whatever.
Sure.
And, that's just part of the game. And so it's not always going to be the cleanest, hit or the cleanest inning or the cleanest whatever, but they took advantage of it and he came through in a big moment.
So at the very bare minimum, if you want to only give him 1 run's credit for turning the double play, and if you only want to give him credit for the 3 runs he put on the board with his home run, Manny Machado put up a +4 for the Padres in the first inning last night. He saved a run and he created 3 runs. Now, I personally would also extend that to Merrill's homer. He helped create 4 runs for the team, and I would give him credit for 2 or 3 runs saved for the double play, if not more, because that inning was melting down for Adam Mazur. Bottom line, in a 1-run game, Manny influenced the plus-minus of the run total last night by at least 4.
Yeah.
By at least 4, which sends me to the straw man I have set up to break down. Because yesterday, while we were talking about Manny Machado on this show, on our Twitter version of our YouTube feed, a person wrote this: BS! Manny is not playing anywhere near his potential. Bench his ass. He's taking up a valuable spot on the roster. He's just being selfish, wanting to stay in the lineup. Quit making excuses for him. So I just wanted to say, Annie, I am so thrilled about Manny Machado's selfishness, that he selfishly saved 3 runs in the top of the inning and then selfishly created 4 in the bottom. Thank goodness for his selfishness that helped the Padres win last night.
Yeah, you start to see last night, You got to get him going. He knows he needs to get going. He knows what he can do to help this team once he gets where he needs to be mentally and physically, where he feels like he's in the right spot or the right slot, as he calls it, with his swing. And this is, like you said, 4 runs. Could have been a 4-run difference, in terms of what he was able to give the Padres and what he was able to take away from the Brewers in that first inning. And also, by the way, his other, he hit the ball really well also in the third. It was a bullet up the middle. Terrain was right there. So he, didn't get to base on that one, but it was still a good hit, and Terrain was just right where the ball was hit. But he's hitting the ball hard. He's getting there, I believe. And more than anything, this is what the team is looking at, is once he gets going, how good they can be, right? Like, and it's hard to just imagine if you take him out of the lineup and you make him sit for his so-called selfishness, not our words, but whoever tweeted that. How good can that lineup be without him? Like, maybe you'll get some production from another player, but you don't have the ceiling. You don't have the highs that you can get from Manny once he's able to feel the way he knows he can. Is it going to come this year consistently? I don't, because it's coming off of that elbow surgery, who knows? But I think the Padres' best option is to try to get it there. I don't know that there's another great option. I personally don't believe it's having Manny sit.
It's not. Manny has told you what's going on with him. Manny has been upfront about what he is dealing with. And when he previously hid behind a facade of bravado, which could be taken as arrogance and saying, I'll just be there at the end. Don't you worry about me. We've got time. It was very easy for people to be, in my opinion, anti-Manny. There's some super unfair narratives that have been around him since really the World Series in 2018 and before that. But as a Padre, we've heard these narratives about Manny Machado. And when he doesn't open himself up, it's easy for those narratives to creep in. Now that he has really explained where he is and what's going on with him, it just makes the folks, and, we just got another one in the chat. Oh, you hit 1 home run. Now you're going to talk Manny Machado. Like, Manny Machado's the most important player on this team. He's going to be the most important player on this team for a long time. And the fact that he's fighting through something and posting and helping a team win a game like he did last night, it does not deserve to be unmentioned.
Yeah, and also he was the first to say after the game when he was asked about it, now it has to come consistently. Manny said that. Now I have to do it consistently. So I don't think Manny, after his home run last night, is like, let me kick back. And, I hit a home run in a big moment, and that's it. That's it for me. Manny is the first one to say, now I have to do it more. I have to do it consistently for this team. So, look, there's, you can go back and forth, I guess, on some of it, but I just don't see, I don't necessarily see where the alternative, I guess. Like, he is working through something. He's being honest about it. Coming off of major surgery. Again, go look at other players who are coming off of major surgery the first year that they're back. It is difficult. You miss your entire offseason. You don't get to train the way that you wanted to. You don't get to do your normal routine. And then you're also dealing with like the newness of whatever's going on in his elbow and trying to find his way through that. And I said it yesterday, the only way out is through for him. And it's kind of like you're seeing that with your own 2 eyes happening, but still that is a better alternative, at least in my opinion, than something else. I'm not even sure what it would be, but I guess bringing someone up from AAA or I guess if Manny was really injured, if Manny knew this is just, the pain is too much, or I'm going to blow out my elbow again, right? Then yes, you absolutely, someone has to save him from himself at that point. Like, you absolutely have to bring up Eggy Rosario or whoever and say, let's roll, until Manny feels better. But I just don't think you're at that point.
We are late for a break. We'll come right back with more Annie and Elsten after this on The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Join the free smoothie party at Tropical Smoothie Cafe today for National Smoothie Day. We're treating our Tropic Rewards members to a free smoothie with Bowler Food purchase. Order in app, online, or pop by the cafe for a little sip and chill. 3 cheers to our Tropic fam. Terms and conditions apply.
Didn't we? I swear we did this read like a couple of months ago or maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was National Smoothie Day that day.
Maybe that was World Smoothie Day.
I swear we've done that before, and it wasn't June 21st.
World Smoothie Day and National Smoothie Day.
You know, I've had my
Local Smoothie Day.
Global Smoothie Day. Local Smoothie Day.
I've had my thoughts
Regional
on all of
Smoothie Day.
these national days, thinking they have to repeat. There's no way. I was like, I swear we just had National Donut Day. There's no way we had it again.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe that was just a year ago, and then I just, it's on me. But I'm convinced that you have like National Smoothie Donut all these days like 3 to 4 times a year.
Unbelievable. Because we've got a short segment here, guys, I'm going to push our Rick Wood talk a little bit later into the program. We wouldn't even have enough time to play Reggie Jackson's quote now.
It's too important to rush it.
Absolutely. So here's a quick update on a story we brought you earlier on Annie and Elsten in previous weeks and months. You might remember when Jackson County, Missouri, resoundingly voted down a plan to publicly subsidize a new stadium for the Kansas City Royals and a new stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs and putting them in downtown Kansas City, so on and so forth, Kansas City, Missouri. You also might remember when Fernando Tatis Jr. was at the Royals Stadium after that escape win, and he said, "Thank goodness we're in Kansas." And Kevin Hayes was, well, actually, you're in Missouri right now. Well, you know what? FTJ might have just been ahead of his time. Less than 3 months after the ballot box defeat in Jackson County, Missouri, a bipartisan supermajority in both chambers of the Kansas state legislature approved a measure to issue bonds to build new stadiums for the Kansas City Royals and the Kansas City Chiefs. In a special session originally called to review proposed tax cuts, the Kansas legislators have authorized a bill calling for the use of sales tax and revenue bonds to pay for up to 70% of the cost of stadia for one or both teams. Final development costs have not been determined, but a combined bill could easily surpass $3.5 billion. The measure now goes in front of Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, who signaled a willingness to support it. Flipping right across the border.
So they're going to go across the border and play in Kansas.
Yes, probably in Kansas City, Kansas, which is a place, but maybe even further west.
I guess you could still call them. Would you still call them?
I mean, if you were in Kansas City, I guess.
If you were in Kansas City, I guess.
Or they could be in a completely different place, and like the Cowboys, could just call themselves the Dallas Cowboys playing in Arlington.
Sorry, has this been put to a vote or it needs to be put to a vote?
No, this is one that's not going to the voters. The Kansas state legislature on their own is happy to peel off $3.5 billion to these sports teams.
As long as who was it that we had on that said, or the morning show had on, as long as you have cities that are willing to do this, you have the ability for teams to hold it over your head and the league to say, we'll just move.
There's a sucker born every minute. And in this situation, the sucker is the border war that has existed between Missouri and Kansas for so long.
I'm a little sad for
Kansas.
it. Like I did out and abouts. I did when I covered the Chargers. We would go to Kansas, obviously, every season, and the fans there are, to me, they were so fun. They were tremendous. It's an amazing tailgate stadium. Just, I don't know how far that is. Like, is it much longer drive? I don't know. I don't like any of it.
No, I mean, it would be I've been there. I've been on both sides of that border before. I'm remembering it's like a 35, 40-minute drive to be in Kansas City proper, and then to be on the other side, to be on the Kansas side. Orchard Park is around there. That's where all the millionaire ball players live.
Jake says it's minutes away. Okay, not tragic, but still, I don't know.
So there's a sucker born every minute. The voters in Missouri said no. The legislature in Kansas is like, we don't need schools. We'll just build all this stuff for you. No problem. There's a sucker born every minute. Not you guys. You're smart listeners. We'll be right back. The statist of the Padres bullpen. A saga in 3 parts. That's our Padres deep dive when we come back on Annie and Elsten. Stocks and Padres baseball. Let's dive in. It's Deep Dive Hour here on Annie and Elsten. Welcome back, everybody. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant. We are all together now for the second of a 4-hour program with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are together. Multimedia operation benefiting the Odyssey Corporation, live on 97.3 FM radio. We are also streaming live on the Odyssey app. You can find us there. You can find all sorts of things there. It's free to download, AUDACY. We are a podcast on every major podcast platform, including Odyssey. You can subscribe for free. Throw us a 5-star review. If you're one of our podcast listeners that's listening to us in the future as we speak to you from the past, hello, throw us a 5-star review on there. It's so easy to do. Boop, click, helps us out, helps get the podcast moving. Positive written review, even better. Shows up right there on the front. People read it. I know. And, of course, last but not least, we are a YouTube television show. Every day, every minute, every hour of Annie and Elsten, we are live on YouTube on the 97.3 The Fan webpage. Find us on YouTube. Click subscribe on the 97.3 The Fan page so you'll see all the other shows that come on live. If you're watching today's show now, hit that like button, would you? Give us a little bit of a like right there. Boom. Doesn't take you anything but a second to do, and it helps out the program. However, wherever, whenever, thank you for listening to Annie and Elsten.
Thank you all very much. I second all of those comments, and we appreciate you as always. Very grateful for our listeners and our watchers, and however you consume us, again, in the podcast. We were talking about Kansas City, maybe the Royals and the Chiefs moving to Kansas.
Yes.
And Oogie in the chat says, Tatis is never wrong. Everyone is just late.
Yep, there you go. Just ahead of his time.
Fernando was like, yeah, we're in Kansas. Good thing we're in Kansas, you know? So I'm actually curious. So is it a package deal? Like, I wonder if they'll split up, right?
Yeah,
You know,
could be.
Will the Chiefs go one place and the Royals go another place?
Could you imagine if you lived in Kansas and you heard your state legislature was just ready to give $3.5 billion to drag two sports teams 10 miles across a state line? so that what?
I think it's reached a whole new. It continues to reach a whole new level with the way that this is floated. And remember, the Kansas City Chiefs owner, his wife, or the CEO, I forget, is one of them up at the top of the Kansas City Chiefs. The wife went on Facebook after they shot down the money and was like, well, we're just going to move, you know? So you have to think that this was already in the works and already an option for them. But I just love, have you been there? I love the setup of the Chiefs and the Royals.
Have been there, yeah.
It's just the coolest thing. They're both beautiful. To me, they're beautiful stadiums.
Kaufman's great.
Kaufman's
the ballpark is great.
Yeah. And just the setup of it is really, really cool as a fan.
Yeah. Well, and that's where it is now. But apparently it's not where it'll stay. But,
okay.
Hey.
Well, we'll see. Fernando will know. He'll tell us ahead of time.
He'll let us know for sure. In this Padres Deep Dive Hour, given the nature of yesterday's game, which was a nail-biter because you knew that the bullpen was on its last leg, so to speak, overtaxed. Remember, we are now, let me think, we got 6. We are 7 games into a stretch of 13 consecutive games, which had a day off in between, and then there were 13 consecutive games before that. There was a day off in between, and there were 13 consecutive games before that. Mm-hmm. So this is the time of the year, more than any other time, save September, that you would look at your bullpen and you would say, this is when a bullpen is going to be in trouble.
It's absolutely Craig. It's the amount of games that they've played, right? 26 games in 27 days is the stretch they're on. But then you put on top of that the starting pitching and the fact that out of the last week, I think only the Waldron starts have gone deeper than 5 innings.
Right.
So you've been going to your bullpen more in the midst of this very long stretch where you're needing your bullpen. You're not giving them rest days as much as they're not getting an off day, really, you know? The good news for the Padres is once they get into July, they have quite a few off days, and they also have All-Star Week. But you got to get there, and you got to not sink too far below, and or blow up your bullpen in the meantime.
So here's what I thought we could do this morning on the deep dive: is dive into the pen. Let's do a look. We're almost there, right? We're what now? 39-40. So tonight is game number 80 out of 162. So the Padres are at the halfway point, essentially. This is the show for us, closest to the halfway point for the team. So here's where we are with the 8 guys who are in the Padres bullpen right now. And we will start at the top And over the course of the hour, we'll work our way down to the number 8 guy in the bullpen. So we start at the top. We start with the rock of the bullpen, Robert Suarez. 30 games pitched for San Diego this year, Annie. 30 2/3 innings pitched in those 30 games. 4-1 record. ERA of a ridiculous 1.17. He has saved 18 of 19 games. And in those 30 2/3 innings, Robert Suarez has allowed 18 hits and only 6 walks for a 0.78 walks plus hits per innings pitched, or whip. A 0.78 whip. Fewer than a base runner per inning. He has struck out 29, which is basically a batter per inning. And he has generated 0.8 FWAR, which is tied for the club lead. So on those surface numbers, it's indisputable. Robert Suarez has been one of the best relievers in all of baseball, and he's been indispensable to the Padres' success this year.
And it's unique. His usage has been unique. None of the other top 10 closers in the majors have been used quite like Robert Suarez. The way that he's been used, getting usually, sometimes 4-out saves, used in the 8th inning, used not too much in terms of multiple days. I think there was only one stretch.
He's pitched 3 times in a row once.
Right. But the good thing is in between, he's usually had a few days off of some, harder stretches. So he's been getting some days off and some relief. But at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's me watching bullpens of the past for the Padres crumble in the second half. You want to be very mindful, and I know they are. Mike Schultz says it all the time. The Padres, Ruben Niebla, they are very mindful. Ben Fritz of the usage. It's a blessing and a curse. He is willing to do anything. Robert Suarez will do anything for you. He'll go out there whenever you need him, okay, and he'll pitch as many innings as he can, or as many outs as he can, possibly have inside of him. But it is for him. He's I think hitting the limit of his career high, or he's getting close to it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I can look that up for you too. But yes.
Again, it's not that he doesn't have it. I think, look, they're going to monitor his velocity. They're going to monitor his arm strength. They're going to monitor if his, where his slot is, make sure there's no dropping or anything. And they're seeing all green check go. Everything positive for him right now. The lights are green. You're not seeing anything in the yellow signs. So that is good. And that tells you that you don't have to back off too much, but you definitely are looking at the second half like that. Like, you do still want this guy to be feeling pretty good if this team makes it into the playoffs.
To answer your question, he is 17 innings from his career high. So still a little ways to go.
A little ways to go, yeah.
47 2/3 in 2022, 30 2/3 so far. But he's sure to pass that. I mean, right now he's pacing for about 62 innings for this year.
Okay, so not as close, though, as I was thinking. So I guess that's a good sign in that sense. Like, he's been used, and it's been a little unique in his usage. But like I said, they're monitoring everything, and so far he looks as if he's able to sustain it. And he put on more strength this offseason, so I think that's part of it as well.
As we have mentioned multiple times in the last couple of weeks, the Padres wouldn't be anywhere close to where they are now without Suarez's performance.
Yeah. He's one of the MVPs of this first half of the season, no doubt about it.
Yeah, they'd be 4, 5, 6 or more games under 500 if we had a struggling closer. They're 1 game under 500 because he has walked this tightrope so incredibly effectively. This was interesting to me, Annie, because on each one of these guys, I tried to go under the hood at least a little bit. Not like ultra deep, but just looking beyond the bubblegum numbers. And Robert Suarez has been propelled to his incredible numbers by a couple of things that statistically and historically you would say are not necessarily sustainable. There are 3 things that really stood out to me. Right now, batting average on balls in play for Robert Suarez is .211. The league average is about .300 for batting average on balls in play. And yes, his quality of pitches reduces the hits he's allowed, therefore it reduces the batting average on balls in play. But as Pedro Martinez famously said, once the ball leaves your hand, you have no control over what's going to happen. So the things that are out of Estrada's control out of Suarez's control have gone all his way, like 100% so far this year. .211 BABIP. He's only allowed .59 homers per 9 innings. and his strand rate is 94%. I mean, the average is like 80.
Yeah.
94%. So those are crazy high. That's why when you look at him on Fangraphs compared to Baseball Reference, it's interesting to see. Yeah, the ERA is 1.17. The fielding independent pitching is 2.69, but the expected fielding independent pitching is 3.74. That means that a lot of his fly ball, we remember the fly ball in Kansas City. Like, that is indicative of kind of the luck Suarez has had on top of the great success he has had.
You wonder if that'll come down to earth a little bit, maybe, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been remarkable, honestly. I am very impressed by the fact that this guy just throws the fastball, hits his spot, and no one seems to be able to catch up to it, save for the Phillies being able to get some knocks on him. You know, it's really fascinating to me to watch that. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, that maybe there's going to be a little bit more of a coming down to earth a little bit on some of it.
Just something to keep in mind,
Yeah.
Padres fans. Yes, he's been dominant, but there are some signals on the dashboard that indicate that it's possible that it's a little bit less than this in the second half. Not that he's going to fall apart.
Right.
Nothing indicating that he's going to like melt or anything, but just that there might be 3 homers more allowed in the second half of the season, or maybe a couple more guys come in that he is stranded this year.
I mean, what he's doing has been so high above the clouds.
Yes.
It's been like, you know, I mean, it's you're absolutely right. You could still have some aggression and he'll still be above, you know, but it's hard to keep that up an entire season, I would think.
We move from Robert Suarez to the man who tried to save the game last night and is currently the Padres setup man. And I wrote on our notes, the setup guy for now, Jeremiah Estrada. Well, on the surface, there's some things that are very clear about Jeremiah Estrada. I mean, he's one of the best strikeout artists in the bullpen in the major leagues, period. He has pitched 25 1/3 innings over 23 games. He has a 3-1 record. His ERA is a pretty medium 3.55. He has saved 1 of 2 chances. He's given up 20 hits in those 25 1/3 innings. He's walked 10, so his whip is 1.18, but he struck out 47. So he struck out 47 in 25 1/3 innings. That's a strikeout percentage of 43.9%, which is second only to Oakland's Mason Miller. And his 16.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, that leads all major league pitchers with 20-plus innings pitched. So you want to strike out, Jeremiah Estrada is the guy to go to.
Even when he let some runs up last night, he still got his strikeouts. Like, he's still the past few times that he's appeared, they haven't been his strongest, right? They haven't been as strong as we saw him before he got sick and before that Mets series, but he still is getting his strikeouts. So, I mean, he's got good stuff. And I think that, again, I'll say it again, like, bullpens can be streaky, but I feel like you've got a guy in Jeremiah Estrada who, again, was pitching for the 3rd night in a row last night, coming off of being sick last week. I feel like you've got someone who's really going to continue fighting to find his best stuff on a nightly basis. And, you know, it's again, you look at that story of him and you wonder about how many teams passed on him when he was put on waivers. And it's pretty remarkable what they found in him, at least to start the season.
He's, even in a struggling patch, striking out everybody.
Yeah.
So you've got that going for you, kind of no matter what.
Like, he's not losing his stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's letting some go and some pitches or whatever, but he's not just melting down with his stuff.
Yesterday's outing needs to be placed in this context. You mentioned the illness that Jeremiah suffered literally last week.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday, he pitched 27 pitches. He had Monday off. He pitched 15 pitches on Tuesday, 15 pitches on Wednesday, and 28 more yesterday. So he's thrown 4 of 5 games for San Diego, never fewer than 15 pitches, twice over 25. He's obviously down today. He probably should be. He probably needs to be down today and tomorrow. Yes, in order to refresh.
And it's going to be interesting. I think this is a fascinating, game to follow in the sense of how they use him, because they need him. And he's going to say he's good to go. And, again, they're monitoring all kinds of different things. Ruben Abel has a formula for trying to, for determining whether a pitcher is able to go that day. That's not just based on, yes, I'm good, or no, I'm not. But I think that it's something to follow as they continue to move toward the All-Star break. Getting some breaks for some of these guys that have been used quite a bit is going to be necessary. It just is.
Now, here's the thing about Jeremiah Estrada. since the day that he set the strikeout record and punched out 13 guys in a row, and we all, 2 days of celebration of Jeremiah Estrada, it's not been the same. In his last 13 appearances, and this predates the sickness.
The sickness, yeah.
Last 13 appearances, 11 and 2/3 innings pitched, 15 hits allowed, 9 earned runs. That's a 6.94 ERA. Now, 5 of those came in one outing. Always important to note. 6 walks, 27 strikeouts. So he's still punching out 2.5 guys an inning, but he did walk 6 and give up 15 hits in his last 11 and 2/3 innings. This came, I believe, not necessarily coincidentally, at the same time that Mike started to move him into super leverage, like bases loaded, 1 out, bring in Jeremiah Estrada. Runner at third, nobody out, bring in Jeremiah Estrada, where it's got to be a strikeout or else he fails. And I get why you put him in super leverage because of the punchies, but also maybe he's not a completely finished product yet in terms of ace reliever. And we've been treating him like he was Raleigh Fingers for a little while.
I mean, he's probably coming back down to earth a little bit too, and I think that the overall numbers at the end of the season are probably going to reflect more than that stretch, which was amazing, of the 13 strikeouts that he had, which you don't take that away from him. But again, to sustain that throughout your entire season, that kind of level of play is rare. That would be quite something if he was able to do that. So hopefully, Craig, there's more of a, if he's bobbling a little now, there's more of a middle ground for him where it hasn't been maybe as streaky as it's been over the last, was it 13 games you said? Yeah. But it's probably not also what it was during that strikeout stretch for where he set the record. It's probably somewhere in between that. And he's a guy that you want to get prime, though, right, for like high leverage. I agree with you. You probably don't want to use him every time in high leverage right now. And those are more stressful pitches, as we know anyways. But you want that kind of guy to be so confident by the time they're rolling into September in the playoffs with his role, for sure.
Yeah. When we come back, part 2 of our status of the Padres bullpen at the halfway point of the season, we're going to get into the left-handers. One who has been incredible, and the 2 priciest guys in the bullpen who have not. And we'll talk about it all when we continue. Padres Deep Dive rolls till 12, then the 12 o'clock Sports Fix there. Annie and Elsten until 2 on The Fan. What's baseball really like? Join former Padre and MLB All-Star Brett Boone and his big league friends on his podcast, The Boone Podcast. 3 days a week, Brett talks with Hall of Famers, fellow All-Stars, and friends to get their take on today's game and to relive their greatest stories from when they played. Follow The Boone Podcast in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Andy and Elsten here with you. It's our Padres Deep Dive Hour. Today's topic, the state of the bullpen, 2024. At the essentially halfway point, 80 games after tonight's game. First segment, we chatted through the top of the bullpen. We talked about Robert Suarez and Jeremiah Estrada. Let's now get into what was the most carefully crafted part of the Padres bullpen coming into 2024, left-handed relief. San Diego used a great deal of their off-season free agent money on left-handed relief. They signed Yuki Matsui to a 5-year, $28 million contract. They signed Wandy Peralta to a 4-year contract to come to San Diego. Of course, they had an incumbent in Tom Cosgrove, who started the year as the team's number one leverage left-handed reliever. And then they had Adrian Morejon, the holdover in his 6th year. You know, is he ever going to come into his own? We have no idea what to expect from Adrian Morejon. And how crazy is it now, Annie, that at the 80-game mark, the undisputed number one left-hander in the Padres bullpen is Adrian Morejon?
It's wild, and I'm happy for him. And again, it's another reminder that this is hard to make it in the big leagues, and sometimes you need a little bit of time to find your way. Morejon is only 25 years old. He got into the pitching lab with Ruben Niebla. That's not the only reason for his recent success, but it helped that they figured something out. They tweaked a little something, and it's been working for him. And they've been using him, I think, in situations that you want to use him in. He's been kind of gradually used in more high leverage situations, or used in more clutch situations, I guess you could say, or used in a situation like yesterday when they just need you to bridge the gap and they need you to be able to hold it down. You know, keep the Padres ahead there, make sure that there's no further damage after the Brewers hit that 2-run home run. So I think that he has really come into his own, and I don't know exactly what the future holds for him, but I think that they've got a good grasp on him right now and what his abilities are.
I think a lot of fans would be surprised to find out that Morejon actually has the same amount of F-WAR this year as Robert Suarez. 0.8. Yeah,
How about that?
He is tied for the team lead. Estrada has 0.6. Morejon has 0.8. Why? 23 games, 31 1/3 innings pitched, so a pretty high total there. He's 1 1/3 innings from his career high in innings pitched. He has a 1-1 record. He has a 2.30 ERA. But here's the key: 31 1/3 innings pitched, 28 hits, but only 1 home run allowed. 8 walks against 35 strikeouts. So the whip is 1.14, but he, much more than any other year in his career, is limiting the walks. He's getting the strikeouts. So as a result, Mike Schilt has started to, as you said, graduate him into higher leverage opportunities. As he has, Morejon has responded by pitching better. And in fact, under what is listed at Baseball Reference as high leverage opportunities, Adrian Morejon is allowing a 177 opponent's batting average and a 458 opponent's OPS.
Yeah, great stuff. And you love to see it for him. The consistency, I think, is really important for a guy like Morejon. You want to be able to see him, like you said, build on it and grow. He's been through so many adversities so far in his young career. And the injuries, obviously. So for him, I think it's about just continuing to dangle a little carrot out there and let him work in and grow toward it. But he's been coming through for this team for sure.
All of the metrics, the advanced metrics, support what Morejon has done because. Remember, if you, I'm saying remember in kind of a broad sense, but
I won't remember.
But you and the Royal remember. But the numbers, fielding independent pitching, expected fielding independent pitching, these things are concentrating on walks, strikeouts, and home runs allowed. So if you've not struck out a lot of guys, you've walked a bunch of guys, and you've given up home runs, you're going to have a high fielding independent pitching. But if you've done what Morejon has done, you've got the perfect mix. You've not allowed home runs, you're not walking guys, and you're striking out guys. So his metric, 2.3 ERA, FIP is 2.09. XFIP is 3.13. So taking all luck out of it, Morahone has been the best reliever for the Padres this year.
The walks are really important because sometimes you get into those more high leverage situations and you lose your command a little bit, or you try to be a little too fine, and you end up walking a guy or two. And so I like that for him, that he's been able to trust his stuff.
And as such, now the Padres trust him. So I really think there's a universe where at the end of the season, Morahone is the eighth inning guy for the Padres, or it becomes a more, as Schilt likes to say, lanes, but like if it's three righties coming up, it's Estrada. If it's two lefties coming up, it's Morahone. But like that feeling of fearlessly putting him into a seventh, eighth inning situation all the time.
I mean, wouldn't the Padres love that? If you have the option of going with a dominant righty or a dominant lefty and you trust them, like you just said, what a great option to have your second half of the season. And if they make the playoffs, hopefully into the playoffs, right? Because you can, like you talked about it yesterday, you can get to that point in the game and feel confident about handing the ball off to this bullpen or in the late innings and having them hold down the lead.
Now, the other reason why Morahone is moving into that slot is because two other guys who were given that opportunity have fumbled the bag. And those are the next two guys in our deep dive, Yuki Matsui and Wandy Peralta, the two most, other than Suarez, two most expensive parts of the Padres bullpen. Yuki Matsui, as we heard from Mike Schilt this morning, is a rookie. He is in a new major league. He is in a new culture. He's in a new country. There's a lot to learn for Yuki Matsui. If we expected him to come out and to just snap it, like Yamamoto, it wasn't going to happen for Yuki Matsui.
So I had this in my notes before I heard Mike Schilt talk, and I agree. Look, he's coming over from Japan. He was a saves leader in Japan. He's a good pitcher. He is issuing too many walks. His command is not where it needs to be. The adjustment as a player coming overseas, playing internationally overseas, not only is he adjusting to a different league and a different type of hitter, but you're also adjusting, and we learned this from Ha-Seong Kim, yes.
Hey,
Ha-Seong Kim.
Some days he is.
Yeah. Who was really honest about this, and thankfully so, and we hear it from players who have been in these similar situations. It is the food. It is you're far away from any culture or home or traditions that you know. It is language sometimes, which I give him all the credit in the world because he has done his best to learn more English. He delivered a spring training, speech that was also in Spanish. I mean, this guy is obviously trying to acclimate as fast as he can. But it is difficult. Like, it is difficult on the human level to be put in some of these situations. Now, he is on a 5-year, $28 million contract. I believe he will improve as a pitcher. I believe that his stuff is in there. The question is, can the Padres afford for him to learn and grow through this at the big league level this year? Because A.J. Preller had to have known this when he signed him. You went through it with Ha-Seong Kim. Yeah. You've seen it with other players. You know there is an acclimation process that far supersedes their ability on the field. And that is so fair to Yuki Matsui to allow him to go through that. He has to grow through that. That is, again, very difficult. And if they can afford that this year, I don't know.
Well, and that's the whole thing. If they didn't have Morahone, they wouldn't be able to afford it at all. Right. If Cosgrove can come back and be effective, and apparently he'll be recalled tonight, and he allowed one hit over his previous 9 appearances after giving up a 19 ERA before that. So maybe he's gotten his slurvy, slidery, sweepery thing right, and Cosgrove can come back and be effective. But both Matsui and Peralta have not only struggled, but they have done so in a way that has to be extraordinarily frustrating, if he would ever admit such a thing, to manager Mike Schilt, because they're pitching opposite to what they were expected to do. Allow me to explain. First off, on Matsui, 35 games, he's won 3, lost 2, ERA is 3.94. He's given up 21 hits, but he's walked 22 in about 30 innings pitched. His whip is 1.34. He has struck out 27, so his F4 is only 0.1. But Annie, his 6.22 walks per 9 innings. I adjusted this on Fangraphs for all relievers with 20 innings or more this year. He is 380th out of 393 relievers in baseball in terms of his walk rate. So he is one of the worst walking relievers in baseball.
When he's not issuing walks and his stuff is playing, you're like, oh yes, like this guy's good. He hasn't allowed a run, I think, during some of this stretch.
Well,
of
yeah,
something
7,
or
but a
other,
lot
yeah.
of that has been him loading the bases and somebody
And then
coming
somebody
in and
comes
bailing
in.
him out.
That's it, exactly. So I feel like, again, he has it in him, but he does need to be given some grace here for the ability to grow into this, in this league and in this in the United States, in this new place that he is. But for him, it is. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get when he comes in. He might hold it down, but more often than not, we see the command not be there, and the bases get loaded, like you said, or he issues a few walks, and then someone has to come in and finish the inning.
I have seen with my eyes Yuki Matsui be 100% averse to the center of the strike zone.
He doesn't trust his stuff, I don't think.
I don't think so either. He wants to put it right on the corner.
Right. He wants to,
and
too fine.
if he doesn't put it exactly on the corner, he's missing by so far that he doesn't even give a chance for swing and miss. But here's the rest of Matsui. He's only given up 1 home run, which has kept all of his numbers within the realm of sanity. He'd have a 7 ERA if he was giving up homers. He's only getting 42% ground balls. And you'd think for a sinker, splitter, fastball pitcher that he would be putting the ball on the ground a lot.
Keeping it low, right, yeah.
Not nearly enough for what he's doing. He's giving up far too many fly balls right now.
Is he leaving the pitches up, though? I mean, is it...
It's just, I think the hitters can keyhole Yuki Matsui right now and just look for a spot in a location because they don't have to worry about anything else, right? Because he's always trying to nip the edge, and if he doesn't do that, he misses by 2 inches. Now, here's the other thing. Yuki Matsui is giving up to right-handed hitters a 162 batting average. Like, righties aren't hitting Yuki, but he's giving up to lefties an on-base percentage of 340. So not only is he giving up some hits to lefties, but he's walking everybody that's left-handed. So you bring in Matsui because there's 2 lefties coming up, and then he walks the lefty, strikes out the righty, walks the next lefty, and he's in hot water. And guess who else is right there in the same bin with him? Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta, the veteran who was brought in to be our left-handed specialist in late innings and pressure situations. Well, here's what's happened. 33 games, we've been using him a lot, just like Matsui. Matsui leads the team in appearances. He's got 35.
And that's something to keep in mind. I remember, you guys all remember too, I'm sure you should. Craig Stammen, Nick Martinez. I can go down the list of pitchers who were used, even Dodgers guy that is no longer with the Dodgers. Come on, Nabil. Okay, now he was used more in low leverage and whatnot, but he was also asked in high leverage. They just pitched more innings than anyone in the bullpen, and people would get mad at them when they would let up runs. And it's like, what in the world you're asking too much of them? When you're asked to go out there and pitch so much, it's inevitable that you're not going to be perfect every time, or you're going to have a bad outing. Now, I don't know that they've been overused. I think that's too strong of a word, but they've been used a lot. It's something to keep an eye on.
Remember when we were just talking about Morahone, and I told you that his stat profile perfectly fits what the metrics are looking for?
Yeah.
Right? Well, Peralta's the exact opposite. He's pitched 28 innings, 4.18 ERA. He's given up 26 hits, but he's given up 5 homers in those 28 innings, and he's walked 11 guys, and he's only struck out 18 guys. 28 innings, 18 strikeouts. That means the ball's in play a lot, and the ball's been going over the fence. As such, he is last on the team with negative .5 FWAR this year. What's going wrong for Wandy Peralta? 2 things specifically are going, no, 3 things are very specifically going wrong for Wandy Peralta. Number 1, do you remember back at I always love when I ask Annie, do you remember?
I don't remember. I can tell you that.
Do you remember when Wandy blew it
yesterday
in Colorado? Wandy blew it in Colorado, and Mike Schilt was really strong in defense of using Wandy and Wandy blowing. And he's like, he's
a ground ball pitcher.
I've got a lefty with a 55% ground ball rate. Why wouldn't I use that guy?
Which is factually correct.
Except today, Wandy Peralta's ground ball rate is 50%. So if it was 55% back in April, it's down to 50%, which means it's been way under 50% for the last 6 weeks. He's been giving up way more fly balls and balls in the air than balls on the ground. Here's the other thing. Mike Schilt finds a lane for Wandy Peralta. And then Wandy thinks he's in Europe and he drives to the other side of the street. Okay? Left-handed hitters are hitting .313 against Wandy Peralta with a .421 on base, OPS of .859. He's turned all lefties against him into all-stars, 860 OPS. So he's doing the opposite of what you want him to do. He's getting out right-handers, and he is struggling against left-handers. And here's the other thing, which Matt Schwartz in the chat instinctively knew. The numbers absolutely prove it. Nobody out in the inning. Wandy Peralta, 194 average against, 480 OPS. Great. One out in the inning, 278 average, 844 OPS. Ooh. Two outs in the inning, 381 on base percentage, 867 OPS. He is dying at the end of the innings to get that third out.
Struggling to finish.
Really struggling to finish.
I thought that Mike Schilt, what he did say this morning with Ben and Woods about not, you only have, he's right about not being able to pitch in a silo. I mean, he's absolutely right. Like they aren't, it isn't a video game. Every guy isn't perfect every single day in terms of health and soreness and if he's able to go and obviously what he did around him. And sometimes you have to look at who do you have left, right? Like you have to go with who you have available and you don't have everyone available every day. They are in the middle of a stretch where they are, like you said, we've talked about, they are shuffling. They are trying to figure out how to get guys available and who to use. And that hasn't been helped by the starting pitching. Wandy Peralta, I don't know. Do you feel like if he was used a little less, maybe he would be a little bit more effective? Or do you feel, because it's hard. It's hard to know because he was doing all right for a stretch at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, he really was. He could be slightly overused, but to be honest, Matsui's pitched more innings than him, and so has Morahone.
Yeah.
So
but I wonder if he has it in the tank.
That's the question. That's really the question. And I'm telling you right now, the numbers I just gave you this segment, they are the reasons why Tom Cosgrove is back today. Because right now, Mike Schilt has one lefty that he puts against anybody in Morahone. And then he's got two lefties that he's supposed to put against left-handed batters, and both of them are giving it up to left-handed batters. So he needs, in Cosgrove, a guy that can just get a lefty out, that can come in to get out one lefty to end an inning. And it's not Peralta and it's not Matsui right now.
Yeah, and to clarify, Jeff Sanders of the UT reporting this morning that Tom Cosgrove is on his way back to San Diego. And it makes sense. They're not going to need to use Adam Major. They've already said, Mike Schultz already said yesterday that Darvish is going to make his next start against the Nationals. So you need some bullpen help. You bring in some reinforcements, and Tom Cosgrove has been, he had struggled. You said it, right? An ERA of 18 or 19 or something in AAA, was it? But he's been good as of late. We've seen him obviously in the big leagues do very well. Before, he allowed one hit over 9 scoreless innings in his past 9 outings in AAA. Didn't pitch in El Paso yesterday, so he's fresh. And they need someone to get out lefties. You just said it.
That's exactly right. That's the status of the left-handers in the Padres bullpen. When we come back, the rest of the pen, the back end, De Los Santos, Kolek, Brito, we get to them as our State of the Padres bullpen deep dive continues. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the San Diego County Fair. Let's go retro at the San Diego County Fair opening June 12th. The Magic of the Midway and live concerts, including tonight, Kings of Late Night, Jay Leno, Craig Ferguson, and Arsenio Hall performing live. Get your tickets at stfair.com. Let's go retro. All right. And in Elsten, Padres Deep Dive, the State of the Padres Bullpen 2024 at the halfway point. In our first segment, Andy, we went through Suarez and Estrada. Then we went all southpaw. Second segment, Morahone, Matsui, Peralta. Let's get to the back end of the bullpen now. Enyel De Los Santos was traded for the Barlow trade to Cleveland. Saved a lot of money, about $7 million. Barlow's been good in Cleveland, by the way.
He has.
He's been really good.
How much money did it save? 7?
Yeah, it went from eight-ish million to like $1.5 million.
I mean, that's a money-saving move, but man, he's been good. Barlow.
De Los Santos, meanwhile, has been a pitcher on the Padres team. There are moments that he's done pretty well. He's holding right-handed batters overall to an on-base percentage of .276. That's good. Mm-hmm. You know, if you bring him in, you've got a decent chance to get a righty out. However, he's given up 9 home runs, which basically leads relievers in Major League Baseball. And those 9 homers come in just 30 innings pitched. So he's averaging a homer just over every 3 innings.
Mm-hmm. Not ideal.
No, horrible. And almost all of it in the second half of the season. He started off great.
Yeah.
And since then, he's been a bit of a home run pest dispenser. He's just been popping them out and giving up the bombs. As such, we told you, F-WAR hates that type of pitcher. He's at negative 0.4 F-WAR. And honestly, this is the third straight guy that we're talking about, that if you were put in Mike Schilt's shoes, like, how the heck are you supposed to look good when you've got these guys? You've got the lefty who can't get out lefties. You've got the lefty who walks everybody. And then you've got the righty who gets out righties, except for when he gives up a bomb.
Listen, Mike Schultz is never going to say it. He's going to say all these guys pitch well, they're going to be fine. But it makes your usage of the bullpen arms tricky. And for Ruben Niebla and Ben Fritz, it makes it tricky because, again, you don't feel like you have consistency with who you call out of there.
And for De Los Santos, he's been used 34 times. He's pitched 30 innings. And many times he rewards his pitching staff by only allowing 27 hits. He's only walked 9. He's struck out 36. He struck out more than a batter an inning. So you understand the temptation to bring him in with runners on and a right-hander at the plate, wanting to get that strikeout, wanting to get through it. If De Los Santos could keep the ball in the ballpark, he'd be a valuable part of this bullpen. Right now, even using him in medium leverage is an absolute roller coaster because of the way that he is just serving up the long ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. It's tough. It's tough to feel secure in the lead when you have that going on.
To the guys who are the low leverage relievers, to wrap things up, Stephen Kolek is somebody that we've talked about probably a little more than he or we would have liked to. He is a Rule 5 pick, meaning that the Padres took him in a winter meetings draft, and they paid $100,000 for the right to basically take him out of the Seattle minor league system. They must keep him on the 26-man roster the entire season. If they don't, they must first offer him back to the Mariners for $50,000, or else they would be able to keep his rights or make a trade for him.
Again, this isn't Stephen Kolek's fault. He's trying to grow and become a better pitcher in the big leagues and learn along the way and better himself. And I think he's doing that. It's not going to be perfect, but it more speaks to your point of the group as a whole. Because you have then Kolek, who you can't move. You have Matsui, who's learning to acclimate in the U.S. and become, pitch in an entirely different league, an entirely different environment. You have the other ones that you just named, De Los Santos, Peralta, whatever. It makes it just it's a tricky group to me right now, save a few of them.
I agree. There's very little flexibility in terms of, we can switch this guy out, switch this guy in.
And we've seen them all do well. They actually, for the most of the first half of the season, they were a little shaky to start, but then they all got on board, and we've seen them pitch well. But it does make you wonder, well, what version are you going to get in the second half?
When Stephen Kolek on that Friday in Kansas City couldn't protect an 8-run lead, we were all ready to hand him back to Seattle, essentially. And I think something Woodsy said in the morning show we all agreed with, which is you could find another Stephen Kolek. You can find somebody to pitch to this level, a 7 ERA. Like you could find plenty of guys to pitch to that. However, I would like to note that Kolek, who, just because we've given everyone else his season numbers, he's pitched in 30 games. His ERA is 5.35. He's pitched 33 and 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up 42 hits, but only 8 walks against 29 strikeouts. That's a whip of 1.5. His last 5 games, Stephen Kolek has a 1.13 ERA with 1 walk against 9 strikeouts. So in the 5 games since the meltdown in Kansas City, Kolek has been terrific. Now, the thing is, you can only pitch him in the lowest of leverage spots, but he has come back to being valuable to the team by handling those spots the last 5 times and doing great.
And you need a guy like that. That's great. You need 1 or 2 guys like that are usually able to go out, give you a number of innings, pitch in low leverage situations, maybe work their way, have a few moments throughout the season where they're put in more medium or high leverage situations. So it's not, you're going to have that on your team. It just feels like there's too many of those guys right now.
Yeah.
They're low leverage guys.
Well, and here's the last one. It's Johnny Brito. And Johnny Brito has found his role in the Padres bullpen, and it's kind of to be the guy that you forget is on the team. Yeah. He actually leads the Padres bullpen in innings pitched. Did you know that, San Diego listeners? 38 and 2/3 innings pitched.
He leads the bullpen?
He leads the bullpen in innings
Johnny
pitched.
Brito.
But that's because every time he's brought in, it's a situation where the team's way down and a starter has been blown out, and he must cover 2 or 3 innings in his outing. And that's what Johnny Brito has done. He's got a 3.72 ERA, 38 and 2/3 innings. But Brito is the king of contact. What Arise is as a hitter, that's what Brito is as a pitcher. He's given up 43 hits in his 38 and 2/3 innings, and he's only struck out 22 guys. So when he comes in, you just know the ball's going to be put in play. That's why he's exclusively long relief, low leverage, when in the beginning of the year they tried experimenting with him in leverage situations. And there it is. We've gone 1 through 8. We've given you the status of the Padres bullpen halfway through 2024. When we come back, hour number 3 kicks off with the 12 o'clock Sports Fix Weekend Preview Edition. Everything you need to know about the weekend that will be right here on The Fan. It's 12 o'clock. It's Friday. What are you doing? Are you working still? Give me a break. We're going to give you a break. Time to chill out. Get ready for the weekend. If you're still at work, you're obviously just costing your boss productivity hours right now. You're staring off into the distance. You're thinking about the weekend that will be.
You're looking outside the window at the sunshine.
The blue sky. Just thinking about it. What do I want to do? Am I going to go out tonight? Am I going to go golfing tomorrow? Am I going to go to the beach?
I live in San Diego.
Right? Going to go to the ballpark? What are we going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to get you set up for the weekend that'll be. Here comes the fix. It's all your sports news for the day that was and the weekend that will be. It's your 12 o'clock sports fix. Let's get it rolling and get things started with Annie on the baseball beat.
All right, we are going to start a little general in Major League Baseball with a story that The Athletic put out this morning, and I'm sure we'll get into more on this show at a later time, but they put out a story about the offense in all of Major League Baseball. It is at an all-time low this season. The average hitters slash lines are way down. Only 25 hitters in baseball are on pace to hit 30 home runs. As recently as 2019, there were 58 players who were on pace at this time to hit at least 30 home runs. There's lots of theories on why, and maybe it'll all balance out by the end of the season. But if it continues at this pace, this season will end with more than 1,400 fewer hits than last year and almost 800 fewer home runs than last year. Yeah, it's interesting, the theories, because maybe with summer, it'll warm up and it'll kind of balance out by the end of the season. But there's lots of player theories on it. Better pitching, weather. We'll go through them.
You know what usually happens when weird stats like this occur? The league dicked with the baseball and didn't tell anybody.
I wonder that because the average lineup, get this, the average lineup now just gets 8.1 hits per game. The Athletic writes, we've seen only 5 full seasons worse than that in the modern era.
Wow.
And they do, there is a little, I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, and I'm sure we'll get into it more and we all get a chance to read it and comment, but there is something to that. Like, did something happen with the baseball and no one's saying it?
Yeah, we had happy fun ball in 2019. Maybe this is sad no fun ball.
You would think that they wouldn't want to go away from that, though, right?
Yeah.
The offense, I don't know. All right, we'll get into it more. The Marlins are designating catcher Christian Bethancourt for assignment.
Old friend.
Yes, reports MLB.com. Bethancourt, old friend indeed, appeared in 38 games for the Fish. He hit 159 with a 198 on-base percentage over 88 plate appearances. It did not work out. Now on to the Padres. Happy belated birthday to one A.J. Preller, who Mike Shildt shouted out last night unprompted in his presser. He always has an unprompted portion of his presser. Preller is 47 years old, probably worked his entire birthday on trying to make trades, and he would not have it any other way. Jackson Merrill is the second center fielder 21 years or younger in Major League Baseball history to hit 6 or more home runs in an 8-game span when counting only home runs while playing center field. The other, Willie Mays, from July 15th to July 22nd, 1951. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Tom Cosgrove is expected to be in the clubhouse today, as we've been discussing. The Union Tribune reported that this morning. He will add some help to a depleted bullpen. And the Padres will look to win their second game of a 4-game set against the Brewers after taking Game 1 in walk-off fashion last night. It'll be Colin Ray, old friend, on the mound for the Brewers. He has a 1.61 ERA over his last 4 starts, striking out 17 against 4 walks over that stretch. For the Padres, it'll be Dylan Cease. He's got a 6.27 ERA over his last 7 starts. He will be looking to get back to the earlier form of Dylan Cease that we've seen tonight. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. at Petco Park.
With the rest of the baseball scoreboard and story, here's Braden.
All right, here we go. My computer started
Now here's Braden.
Friday for Braden, too.
Computer started freaking out, trying to flip the camera back over. Baseball scores from yesterday. Padres winning a walk-off, the third walk-off in a row at Petco Park, as mentioned earlier in the show. A 7-6 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers. Jeremiah Estrada, despite giving up the lead in the top half of the ninth inning, got the win yesterday. He's now 3-1 with a 3.55 ERA. In our nation's capital earlier on Thursday afternoon, it was the Diamondbacks over the Nationals 5-2. They pulled themselves within one game under 500, just like the Padres are one game under 500. In Cleveland, the Guardians took care of the Mariners 6-3. Tampa Bay beat the Twins in extras from Target Field in the Twin Cities. They won 7-6 in 10. And the Colorado Rocky Mountains, it was a 5-3 victory for the Trolley Dodgers over the Rockies. White Sox and Astros, it was the Stros over the Sox on the south side 5-3. Royals go to Oakland and they leave with a 3-2 victory over the A's. Baltimore
Oh, wow.
slaps up the Yankees 17-5.
17-5.
Wah, wah.
Did Baltimore win the first two? I don't know.
They might
Never
have.
mind.
They're
Yeah.
now their record is now 49-25. They're 1.5 games behind the Yankees in the American League East standings. And the game down in Mobile, or not Mobile, in Montgomery, Alabama. No, correction. Where are they playing again?
Birmingham.
Birmingham, where the Birmingham Barons play.
Yes.
The Cardinals beat the Giants 6-5. Had a couple of times last night where they went to black and white
Yes.
on the TVs. Some vintage television production of Major League Baseball. A fun event overall in Birmingham, Alabama, where the Cardinals beat the Giants 6-5, and that was the final game of yesterday. Should be a fun weekend of games this weekend in Major League Baseball, as well as college baseball. And since the college beat is so short, I'll just quickly mention that Tennessee will play Texas A&M tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, game 1 of the 3-game College World Series finale to determine a national championship between two SEC foes. In high school sports, the big tournament this weekend will be at the University of San Diego for high school football. Another week of high school football leading into the football season starting in August. That'll do it for me. For the Sports Fix, on to Craig.
Thank you so much with the soccer and golf beat here, starting with San Diego Wave FC. Our National Women's Soccer League pro team is in Houston on Saturday to take on the Houston Dash. The Wave are 3-5-5 on the season. That means 3 wins, 5 losses, 5 draws. They are playing their third road match in 8 days. They are in 10th place right now in the NWSL table, although just 1 point out of 8th place, which would be a playoff position. However, the Wave's 0-4-3 away record. We had to wait for the thing to recycle.
There's something going on with the music, yeah. Braden's computer.
Always know.
Yes.
Always know there's something. Their 0-4-3 away record is the third worst in the NWSL. Yeah, the Wave need goals.
Yes.
They have only scored 12 goals in 13 matches this year, 4 in 7 away matches. So, goals. Let's get some goals. Hoping for goals from Maria Sanchez and or Savannah McCaskill, who were both brought to this team to score and who have both been shut out so far this season. That game will kick at 5 o'clock tomorrow. On to the double dueling hemispheric soccer tournaments that are captivating the global audience. At the Euro 2024 UEFA tournament, today, Ukraine over Slovakia 2-1. Austria defeated Poland 3-1. Just kicking off, Netherlands and France. Interesting in this one, scoreless in the 7th minute, is that Kylian Mbappe, who took a broken nose in match 1, is playing with the Phantom of the Opera mask today in match 2. Yeah, should be very interesting. Yesterday, Spain punched their ticket into the round of 16. They did so with a 1-0 win over Italy. Italy's in trouble. Denmark and England, a 1-1 draw. Slovenia and Serbia, a 1-1 draw. Last night, Copa America 2024, taking place in the United States and featuring 6 CONCACAF teams along with the South American stalwarts. It began with Argentina and Canada. And it began with a 2-0 Argentina win over Canada. Lionel Messi setting up both goals for each of their forwards. Very exciting match. I was actually watching at the gym. Back and forth, Canada had a lot of opportunities. Argentina was stronger. They are the favorites. They're the favorites. They're always South America's favorites. They're the defending World Cup champions, of course, as well. And that was last night's opening match of Copa America. Tonight, it will be Peru taking on Chile. And as we continue tomorrow, we will see Ecuador, Venezuela, and Mexico against Jamaica. Sunday is when Team USA gets things started when they take on Bolivia at 3 p.m. Uruguay and Panama will also do battle on Sunday. We go now from soccer to golf and the Travelers Championship second round. This is the final elevated event of the year. $20 million prize purse up for grabs in Connecticut. And the young man, Tom Kim, all 21 years old of Tom Kim. Tom Kim is having a moment. He led with a first round 62, matched it with, well, not matched, but backed it up with a 65 today in the second round. Tom Kim is at 13 under par. He is 2 shots ahead of Colin Morikawa, who went 66-63, has the low round of the second round. Akshay Bhatia is also at 11 under par. Xander Schauffele is right there at 10 under par after he went 65-65 in the first 2 rounds. Sung Jae Im is at 9 under par. Tony Finau, Robert McIntyre at 8 under. Patrick Cantlay and Ricky Fowler among a group at 7 under with Scotty Scheffler, who is 2 under for his round today through 12. But right now it's Tom Kim looking for a big win at the Travelers and with 2 tremendous rounds of golf so far. That does it for my portion. Let's head over to Annie for a quick update on the Cup.
Yes, let's lace up our skates, get on the ice. It looked like a sweep, then maybe a gentleman's sweep, but now we have ourselves a series in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers have won 2 straight after digging themselves a 3-0 series hole. If they can win tonight on home ice, they will push the finals back to Florida for Game 7. Who doesn't love a Game 7? They will attempt to become the first team since the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs to come back from a 3-0 deficit to win the Cup. Face-off is at 5 p.m. tonight on ABC. If Edmonton wins, Game 7 would be on Monday night in Sunrise. I bet Jake Cronenworth is watching. I bet he's keeping an eye.
Yeah.
Like, he's the Detroit team, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like he's got it. Who doesn't watch the finals, right?
You got to watch.
Right.
I guarantee you he's got it on in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
When he checks back in after BP, he's gonna eyeball the screen. He's
Big
going to be like,
game.
who's got the lead?
Right.
And he's probably rooting for Edmonton.
The Padres are putting out a jersey of sorts, a
I
hockey
saw it.
jersey.
I saw
Is
that.
it a theme game?
It is a theme game,
Okay, yeah.
and I kind of want it.
Yeah, I talked to Adam. I don't know. Yeah, but maybe Adam can help you out there.
I could also buy the theme game ticket. I could just go buy it.
Is that possible? I don't know how that all
yeah,
works.
yeah. Season
Okay.
ticket holder, you can buy the.
Oh, well,
you can
there
buy
you
the
go.
things.
Okay, you can buy
for
the
like
things.
an amount. You know, I don't know how much. We'll find out.
Money talks.
Money talks. Craig walks, and the fix continues with Braden Soprinin.
I did already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's right. It was quick.
Never mind.
We only had one thing. College World Series. Again, 4:30 tomorrow.
Back to me.
Back to you.
For the NBA story, it never ends. The NBA never ends. We'll have a story for the NBA every day. The Oklahoma City Thunder made a trade yesterday that could pay dividends next season. All of these deals, by the way, they happen, they're reported, but they're never official because you're not allowed until July 1st.
Oh, is
So-
this tampering then?
It's not. It's just like
Just what happens?
they let it out.
Okay.
You know,
All
they
right.
don't really care that much. So this is a deal that will be announced on July 1st. The Oklahoma City Thunder trading young guard Josh Giddey to the Chicago Bulls for veteran Alex Caruso. This is a pretty interesting deal. Giddey's had a little controversy around him. He hasn't quite come into his own. He is a less defensive point guard. He is a ball first, but he's like a 6'8" point guard. He's a guy who could still potentially be a quality starter in the major leagues. But Alex Caruso is exactly what Oklahoma City needs. He's a 30-year-old who's going to come off the bench. He's considered the best perimeter defender in the NBA, and he shot 40% on catch-and-shoot threes last year. So Caruso to OKC, Giddey to the Chicago Bulls. The Sacramento Kings are hanging on to Malik Monk, their number one shooter off the bench, signing him to a 4-year, $78 million contract, which is not official until July 1st. Last night in the WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces beat Seattle 94-83. The Aces, though, more interestingly, also announced they're the first team in WNBA history to sell out its entire home schedule. Not a seat to be found in Sin City.
Former San Diegan Kelsey Plum on that team?
Yes, absolutely. She's the superstar of
Yes.
that team, and they're the back-to-back defending champions.
So that's a big deal, I would think.
100%.
Yeah.
Because that's not Caitlin Clark. That's showing you. Caitlin Clark is amazing.
Right.
But the Aces have built a real fan base in Las Vegas. It's the Golden Knights and it's the Aces, maybe 1-2 in Las Vegas right now.
That's pretty cool.
Right? Two teams that, not for nothing, are original to Las Vegas and have done
homegrown.
nothing but support Las Vegas. They're not interlopers from outside.
They're not trying to play some of their home games in a stadium outside of Las Vegas.
Correct.
They're just playing them in Las Vegas where their fans are.
A little more on the Raiders in a minute. But I continue. The San Diego Legion. Now we're off the NBA, but we'll keep the NBA music. The San Diego Legion have 2 home matches remaining. All right, look at you in their regular season schedule. Sunday at 3 p.m., they play host to the Houston SaberCats. The Legion are 9-5. They have clinched a playoff berth. Tickets at sdlegion.com if you want to check it out. The San Diego Strike Force Indoor Football League. They are 7-5 on the season. They are in Arizona this weekend to battle one of the pro teams with my favorite name in the country, the Tucson Sugar Skulls. Don't take on it.
Tucson Sugar Skulls. And is it like the colorful skull?
Like the Dia de los Muertos.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I would
Tucson
get
Sugar
that
Skulls.
merch.
I
That's
would
cool
too.
merch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday night, if you want to go to Tucson, you can get that merch for yourself.
That's cool.
Wherever they play. Time on the segment. There it is. Your 12 o'clock Sports Fix weekend preview. June 21st, summer solstice, longest day. God, if there was ever a day to go try and golf a twilight round.
Oh,
Today's the day.
I like Twilight in San Diego too. It's just so beautiful. Last night I was thinking because it was like 7 or 7:30 and it was still pretty sunny. It was bright out. You know, so it is that time of year. Kids are out of school. The fair is going on. Got baseball in the summer, and you got a lot of light tonight to do whatever you fancy.
Our friends in the chat have informed me. First, Rich told me what I thought, which is it was $20 to buy the hockey sweater.
Yeah, I feel like you're out for
But
this.
then Elisa says the hockey jersey's sold out for season ticket holders. Contact your rep.
Contact your rep, and good luck with that.
Good luck with that. My rep is first name Adam, last name Clue.
Now, Media Melanie says there's sometimes a tent. I don't know if this is below the radar or if this is legal or not, but she says there's sometimes a tent toward the back of Gallagher Square there where they might sell for $20, $25, and you could probably find them on your local,
Oh, you can find it on
eBay's.
eBay for $80
Right.
the next day,
For
guaranteed.
triple the price.
Yeah. The one I missed on that last year was the Ha-Sung Kim hat, the black hat with the green lid.
Oh, that one was cool.
It was
Yeah.
so cool, and for that, I got that Kim Reverse City Connect. I was like, it's the perfect hat for it. I want it so bad. I missed the chance to buy it as a season ticket holder, and a year later on eBay, they're still $80, $90.
It's wild. I mean, people make good money on these. That's why they try to get like 10 of them, right? For Petco Park, Media Melanie says there's a tent where they sell the Padres giveaways. Okay, go meander through Gallagher Square. Does it have to be the day of, Melanie?
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah. Or send someone to do that.
I mean, that tent I've seen as being the redemption spot for the season ticket holders. Like when I got the Obi-Wan Kenobi theme game bobblehead last year, I had to stand in that line at that tent. So I didn't know they were selling them.
Did you get one
too.
or did they like sell out?
No. I had previously purchased it, and then that was your pickup spot.
Got it.
So I didn't know that they. I didn't know that they also sold spares potentially, but Melanie says if you're there but don't have the theme game ticket, they often have extras and will sell them. I bet you they won't have too many extras of the Cronenworth Padres hockey jersey. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Saw it on the broadcast last night. I liked it. Wanted it. Now,
I like
I've got
that
FOMO.
it's relevant because obviously Jacob Cronenworth loves hockey. He used to play hockey.
Yes.
Yes.
What a Renaissance man.
He is. He really is.
That
yes.
Jake Cronenworth. Heck of a fella. It used to be every time that Jake Cronenworth homered, that our dear friend, beloved Hannah Nankara Woods, would resurrect a bookmarked tweet from a year or two ago that I had criticizing Jake Cronenworth, and then would post it. And then every morning that Jake hit a big home run, I would wake up to mean, angry replies from people who misinterpreted a tweet from 2 years earlier, out of context. So you know what I did one
Hannah
afternoon?
will keep receipts.
You know what I did one fair afternoon? One weekend, fair afternoon? I just went through did some detailed searches, and I deleted every Jake Cronenworth tweet.
Because you're scared.
Because I was tired of it. And then you know what happened this morning? She didn't have those tweets to put up, and she could only put up other people's tweets or people who replied to my tweet, but it doesn't paste back to anything. And I had a great morning.
You sound like you're gloating about this.
No,
and I don't like that.
We DM'd back and forth together.
You did?
I sent her a little song like, you can't put up my tweets anymore.
You did not do that.
Because I deleted them from you. Yeah. And then she was like,
You did
LOL.
not do that. Oh, come on.
Yeah. She was torturing me. And I ended it. I did my part. I did my part to end the torture.
Oh, man.
It ended with, I hope your day is a great one, too.
No, did you make it in like a song?
I put the little notes next to it. You know?
Like music notes?
Yeah, you can't post my old tweets anymore. La la la. Only replies, they don't hurt anymore. La la la.
Oh, no.
Crone can homer.
No.
I can have a good day too. La la la.
Wait, you sent this to her?
Hope your day's a great one for you.
Did
La,
you
la,
hit
la.
send?
Yeah. And she wrote, LOL. Fortunately for both of us, you're not alone in your history on Hot Jake Takes. Happy Friday. We have a friendly relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a friendly
right.
relationship. I mean, I didn't get mad when she was nailing me for that stuff, but it was like, man, every morning. I'd wake up every morning. I'd be, oh, God, Jake Cronenworth hit a homer. What am I going to do?
In dread.
I'm going to suffer. Literally, I'm going to suffer. I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to just go back and find that stuff and delete it.
Let me tell you, if you are someone who you want Hannah on your, like, if Hannah's a girl's girl too, and like you want her on your side because like she's gonna fight to the death for you,
Yeah.
and she will keep receipts, and she gives no Fs, so she will enjoy every second of that, and if she's standing for someone like she stands, of course, for Jake Cronenworth, no, you're not safe.
No.
You have to just wear it.
Never safe.
But you deleted them all.
Yes. Smartly, wisely, cleverly.
Oh,
I omitted. I will not have it anymore. You know, like it's not in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, I have an ability to end this pain, and then I did.
Okay.
And I feel great. Woke up this morning, smile on my face.
You were like, I know I don't have to deal with that today.
And then I looked inside my replies, and I saw her having put up all the old replies that don't paste back to me anymore. And I'm like, I'm free.
Did she post anyone's this morning?
3 different people.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
you felt like you eluded that.
Yes.
You eluded that.
This was my pain-free morning post Corona. It was the first time that like it all worked out.
I can picture you getting out of bed, like skipping your step. You know, I'm gonna go drink a glass of milk or whatever, and like my day is gonna be great.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, it's not exactly that, and I don't want to say exactly what it was, but yes, something like that.
okay.
And I mean, I don't drink milk in the morning, first
Okay,
off,
well,
but
all right,
but yes,
Yeah.
just waking up. I didn't think it wasn't the first thing I thought of. It's just then
You
know,
noticed.
the cursory check of Twitter. You know, I don't even like to really check it, but a cursory check. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yep, that could have been me today, but it's not.
I do always check it in the mornings to see what, like if there was something that was like a nightmare that happened overnight. You know what I mean? Like, is there you know, something that I put or that I tweeted or whatever that was wrong? Because people always tell you too. You know, if I'm like so and so did this or that, and no, you'll get 20 replies the next day like you were wrong about such and such or whatever. And hey, man, social media. Blessing and a
Did it
curse.
to myself. I did it to myself, so then I undid it myself. So that's it's a do-it-yourself issue. You know,
You took it in your own hands.
I did it myself, and then I undid it myself.
Matt Schwartz says, Hannah 100% has a Twitter burn book. Yes, she does, and she's very proud of that.
Oh,
There'll be no Hannah slander.
No. Oh, and there's none here. I'm just noting that I escaped.
You're saying that you alluded, except I don't know, because Hannah's crafty, and I feel like she'll find a way. You know?
Also, I just put it all out here on the radio, so in a way, I'm self-owning, right?
Yeah.
So
you're getting ahead of it. as
in
they
that
would say.
sense, I reposted them myself.
You're getting ahead of it.
Yes, indeed. All right. When we come back, what do you think? We just went super long. Should we do Rickwood next? Yeah, let's do it when we come back. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Join the free smoothie party at Tropical Smoothie Cafe today for definitely not the second time this year, National Smoothie Day. We're treating our Tropic Rewards members to a free smoothie with a bowl or food purchase. Order in the app, online, or pop by the cafe for a little sip and chill. 3 cheers to our Tropic fam. Terms and conditions apply.
This is great smoothie weather.
Oh, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is it. A little
Frozen fruit.
Yeah. Maybe do a little workout, get hot, and then cool off with that, and plus replenish natural
That
sugars
protein
and
in.
whatnot. Yeah. Got me going. Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Look it up. Google it. Find one. Go there. Join the thing. Get a free thing.
Get a free thing.
Tropic Rewards members. Become a Tropics Rewards member. All right. We got Mind the Gap coming up. That'll be today's silly game to wrap up the week. That'll be in our next segment. Right now, want to get into what happened yesterday. You heard Braden talk about it a little bit during the fix. Down in Birmingham, Alabama, Rickwood Field was the home of the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro Leagues. It was also the home of just the Birmingham Barons of minor league baseball for several decades. It was refurbished, given a $5 million facelift by Major League Baseball, and then utilized last night for a regular season game, Major League Baseball game, for the first time in Birmingham, featuring Willie Mays, San Francisco Giants, and the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, this was intended to be an event to honor Willie Mays. He was going to be feted and honored at this event. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 days before the event, so it instead became a celebration of Willie Mays, of the Negro Leagues. I watched a lot of the pregame ceremony to this yesterday, Annie, and I thought it was, honestly, it was spectacular. It was really, really cool, and I think this is a great example of a way Major League Baseball could be really smart to do this, not this specifically, although you could play at Rickwood every year, but to have teams go to non-Major League sites and sacrifice a home game or two to play games that invigorate the community, that instruct, that teach a history lesson. Like, this was a really cool, classy move by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it was so cool to see the stadium outfitted the way that it was and how they kind of got it ready for this game, to see the fans in the stands, and then juxtapose that with pictures and footage that they had, or like you said, storylines from during that time to understand a little bit more about what was going on. My concern, and I love the pregame too. I love when they brought out Negro League players who were well into their 90s, and then put them side to side, contrasted them with pictures from when they played, and it kind of honestly brought a little tear to my eye, because it was just, what they went through, and we'll get into that. For them to be celebrated in this way, but also just for what they went through during that time, just to play baseball, and how many people probably didn't even see some of their talents. I think that it's a beautiful thing, but it's also a sobering thing. And my concern with these events is always that. I am always looking at these events like, is this kind of a shtick? Yeah, it's great to honor these players. Of course, you want to celebrate them. But a lot of times this is for other people to broadcast, or MLB or whatever, to pat themselves on the back and say, look, we're honoring, these players, and to forget about what they went through during that time, and to just make it Disneyland-esque. Very happy the whole time. And it's like, it's not that, it's great to celebrate and honor. Of course you want to do that, but you also have to be real about what happened during that time, and not just pat yourselves on the back and say, look at us, we're doing this great thing out here. So I'm sure we're going to get to a little bit more on that, but that's always my feeling going into these sorts of things.
Well, I completely agree. You don't want it to be eyewash, and you don't want it to rewrite history or to elide history, meaning just leave the bad parts that you don't like out and turn it into a celebration, calling it Disneyland-esque. That's perfect. Like turning it into a Magic Kingdom. Oh, look, everything is fixed. Everything's great. Look at Rickwood. We're all happy now. We've won. Racism's over. Like, like that's what you're afraid of. So first, let's hear from Mason Wynn, a young African-American player in the major leagues. He is the starting shortstop for St. Louis. When he was growing up, he played in Texas on a Little League team where the manager of the team put the names of Negro League players on the backs of the jerseys of the kids. and then made the kids, 10, 11-year-old kids, write reports about those players to raise the awareness of what the Negro Leagues were, who these players were, what they were all about. So for Mason Wynn, it was a really emotional experience for him to participate in the game at Rick Wood Field.
I haven't really been nervous for a game. You know, maybe Wayno's 200th win last year, but I mean, I was trying to calm myself down, just playing catch with Gorham before the game, and you know, getting out to shortstop. I was taking some deep breaths, and just all the way around, man, it was just an emotional night. You know, I tried to keep the nerves down, and then I saw my stepdad at the end of the game. You know, he was shedding some tears, watery eyes, and it almost made me cry a little bit. So, yeah, man, I was just trying to embrace it. You know, every bit of emotion. I loved it. It was a great night. I haven't really.
And he was a great representative. He really comported himself well on camera and throughout the game. Really, really cool. Fox Sports was doing the coverage of this, and while I was watching the pregame, I was starting to kind of get a vibe of what exactly you were talking about, Annie, that it felt a little Pollyanna. It felt a little bit rosy, a little bit too, patia. Everything's
great.
Yeah, everything's so nice. And they brought on Reggie Jackson on the pregame show, who played as a minor leaguer in Birmingham before he came up to the Oakland Athletics. And Alex Rodriguez, we're going to play this clip for you right now, on the pregame show, is setting himself up or setting Reggie up for a question. I'm not sure that they were expecting what they got back.
I don't think they expected this. I do not think they expected this, and I think it took them all by surprise. But you should have been expecting this. You should have wanted this and made room for this. But good for Reggie Jackson, and we'll find out why.
Yeah, this is the truth of Reggie Jackson playing in Birmingham, Alabama as a teenager.
Reggie, the baton has been passed for over a century here. We've been talking earlier about if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the three of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here in Concord? I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they say, then can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass, and you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
Reggie, I can't even imagine. It's awful you had to go through that, but appreciate you sharing the rawness and the honesty of it with our audience. I mean, really, it's.
We love you, Reg.
Yeah, thank you.
Quick history lesson right there.
That's a great history lesson. Reggie Jackson telling us all about it, preaching. Wow, that's unbelievable. The great Reggie Jackson, the Hall of Famer, joining us here.
Kevin Burkhardt just
I know.
stuck in that spot.
When he kept trying to lift his mic, it's almost like I don't know if they were telling him to go to break or what.
No,
but,
he was just his mic was drifting, so you couldn't hear him as well. They were just trying to get it up there.
I'm glad that they allowed it in the entirety, as you should. I mean, he should be allowed to talk as long as he was willing to talk in that moment. And so I'm glad that he wasn't cut at any point or anything like that. So important, and the assumption, the entitled and arrogant assumption that, hey, we're going to bring all these Negro League players back, and it's going to be so wonderful for them to honor them, and not recognizing the trauma they might have gone through.
Right.
I really hope that wasn't the case. I hope that there were conversations before that about that, because you don't. You that was really important. And I think about if Reggie Jackson hadn't have said that, would we have gotten that at all from yesterday?
No, we wouldn't have. And it is so important for us not to forget the history of this country. There are a lot of forces that would like to eliminate history, because if you don't know history, then you can be told anything and believe that it is true. And what happens and continues to happen in many areas of our country, it's not Jim Crow South, I understand. That's what Reggie Jackson had to go through. That's what he is explaining in explicit detail in this clip. But if you want to believe that that wasn't the way things were, you need to know that it was.
I thought Adam Jones said something really good on, he always says something really good on with Ben and Woods, where he talked about this isn't just Black history. This is American history.
Precisely. You need to both honor the past, but you must remember the past. And you must remember the past for what it was, not for what you wish it would be. And this is what last night was supposed to be about.
And I think there's a good comment in here in the chat, a lot of good comments. But Eric Miranda, the amount of history we are about to lose is what really got me. And I think that's what it was for me, too. You saw how old a lot of these guys were being wheeled out in wheelchairs, or they're being walked out. You see how old this group of players are that are still alive, having played in the Negro Leagues. And you wonder, just like you have in every war and every big event, mass event that's happened, when they pass, it's important that this history lives on.
An interesting night. I'm really glad Reggie Jackson put the proper note upon it. When we come back, we'll switch everything up. It's time for a Friday silly game. We're playing Mind the Gap today. It's the game of multi-generational trivia where you can qualify, if you beat me, to go to our end of the month grand prize drawing, a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, tickets to either Hootie and the Blowfish or Smashing Pumpkins at the Blue Live Theater, and a $150 poolside dining credit. Summer room packages and tickets are available now at FontainebleauLasVegas.com. Give us a call. We're looking for a contestant to play Mind the Gap. 833-288-0973 is our number, 833-288-0973. We'll grab a contestant during the break, come back and play when we return with Annie and Elsten on the Fan. Back with you on Annie and Elsten. It is time for our Friday edition of Silly Games. This is your daily chance to qualify for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing. This month, it's a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. Attached to it, tickets to either Hootie and the Blowfish or Smashing Pumpkins, and a $150 poolside dining credit. You can go to FontainebleauLasVegas.com if you want to book your own trip. Today, we play the game of multi-generational trivia known as Mind the Gap. This is where you're going to need to answer one trivia question aimed at boomers, one at Gen Xers, one at millennials, and one at Gen Zs. And if you can do it before I do it, you will win. Today's contestant is Brett in San Diego. Hi, Brett. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. How are you?
Good. How about you guys? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brett.
Born and raised Padre fan in San Diego.
Love it. All right. What's your generation, Brett?
I'm born in '87.
Oh,
Makes you a millennial?
makes you
Makes you a millennial.
Yeah.
Makes you a millennial. Makes you a millennial, Brett. All right, so you got one category, you're good one. But here's how the game's going to work, man. You're going to get to go first, and we're going to alternate back and forth. You're going to pick one of these four categories: boomers, Gen X, millennial, or Gen Z. Braden will read you a question, and you try and get it right. If someone gets a question wrong and you haven't cleared that category, the opposing player can try to steal. Last thing is, Brett, you have 2 lifelines. One time you can ask Braden for help on a question. One time you can ask Annie for help on a question. I have the same 2 lifelines, and whoever finishes the 4 buckets first is the winner. Does it all make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, brother, you go first. Would you like to go out of boomer, Gen X, millennial, or Gen Z?
Let's go boomer.
Okay, boomer. Here comes Braden with your question.
All right. In the 1960s, righteous meant A, holy and pure, B, scary, or C, fantastic. Wow. A multiple choice question?
Never had that before.
No.
Fantastic.
C, fantastic. That is correct.
Oh,
Okay.
check you out, boomer.
Didn't even need to
Didn't even need, yeah.
look at the answer on that one.
I would have probably said A too, so that's good. Good job, Brett. All right, my turn. Let's try and finish boomers. I'll clean out boomer as well.
What Ford car was discontinued after only 2 years and considered a complete failure?
Ooh.
The Pinto.
Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. What Ford car was discontinued after only 2 years and considered a complete failure?
The Pinto?
Pinto is what I would say, but the answer it says birth control pill.
There's
no way
what?
that's the same card.
That doesn't
make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Look at this card. Check it out. You got to see
let
it.
me take a
You got to look at this.
My mom says the Edsel. ADSEL.
Is there 2 cards there?
They put the wrong answers on the back of this. too.
Yes, they
Oh,
did.
wow.
There's the wrong answers on that one.
Wow.
I'll give you another card.
Okay,
I
give me-
was
yeah.
like sitting there going like, that's not right. Who's the first African-American woman elected to Congress in 1968? Also the first woman and African-American to run for president in 1972.
Coretta Scott Lee?
Incorrect.
Damn it.
You could steal, Brett.
Annie, can I use the lifeline?
What was the question?
Yeah. Please do. Go ahead.
So glad you were paying attention there, Annie. Who was the first African-American woman elected to Congress in 1968 and also the first woman and African-American to run for president in
I know this name,
1972?
Okay, I think it is. Guess my aunt's name is Shirley. Shirley Chisholm?
Shirley Chisholm.
Shirley Chisholm is
Shirley
correct.
Chisholm is
Great.
correct. Shirley Chisholm is correct.
Correct.
That's the one. Doggone it. I knew that name too.
Oh, Buddy in the chat had it too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys
well,
gotta stop looking at the chat.
Oh, I didn't see it
There's
in the
too many
chat.
answers in there.
Brett's cleared his Annie lifeline. He had already used boomers, so you get to just which category would you like to claim for that correct answer, Brett? Would you like Gen X, millennial, or Gen Z? Just to cross off that you don't even have to do.
Gen X.
Gen X. Okay.
All right.
So you're up 2-0, and you can either go millennial or Gen Z. Your choice.
Let's go millennial.
All right, millennial. That'll be a millennial. All right, cool. What clear caffeine-free soda debuted in 1992 but was pulled from the shelves the next year?
Oh, jeez. Can I use Lifeline Braden?
I think it was Pepsi Clear, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
That sounds right.
No, it was close, but it's not it.
Can I steal?
Yes.
Crystal Pepsi.
It was Crystal
Pepsi.
I was like, I
Why did
knew
they
it was
pull
something
that
like
off?
that. It was clear Pepsi. It looked like water, but it tasted like Pepsi.
Because it was terrible and no one wanted it.
Oh.
And they realized, I've been drinking food coloring all this time.
Yeah,
So it's like,
And that's what I
probably a bunch
love.
of chemicals in there.
yeah.
I
Wait
love
a
those
second.
chemicals.
This is clear, but it still tastes the same. I'm so confused. All right, so now
Crystal
it's 2-1
Pepsi.
because I got to steal your millennial there, Brett. So I'm going to go back to Boomer to try and end this category and tie up the match.
What actress starred in 1967's Wait Until Dark about a blind woman terrorized by criminals searching her home for illegal drugs?
Oh, my God, I have no idea. Janet Leigh.
Audrey Hepburn.
Okay.
Nice
Brett,
try.
back to you, millennial or Gen Z, your choice.
Gen Z.
What actress and singer voiced Rapunzel in Tangled?
She's blonde, I think.
What do you say?
She's blonde. Yes.
Well, Tangled, yeah, Rapunzel's blonde. I know that. Need an answer.
We
I
need
don't
an
know.
answer. All right, repeat the question.
What actress and singer voiced Rapunzel in Tangled?
I'd like to use Annie as my lifeline.
I hope I don't screw you on this. I believe it's Mandy Moore.
That is correct, Mandy
Yeah.
Moore. Are we tied at 2?
We're tied at 2. I'm back, and I'm gonna take my third swing at Boomer. I've lost twice already.
Tiny Tim, while playing with his ukulele and singing in his high falsetto, had a novelty hit in 1968. What was the song?
Oh my God, I know this. Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
That is correct.
Yes!
Tiptoe Through the
How do
Tulips.
you know that?
Tiptoe
Guy's a music
through
guy.
the tulips.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He was probably on the Muppet Show when I was a kid.
And how did it go?
Tiptoe through the tulips.
I'm sorry I missed that. Can you do it again?
Tiptoe. No, that's it.
Amazing.
All right, Brett, I've now taken the lead on you 3-2. Gen Z or millennials, I'm counting on you. Get one right. Here we go.
Millennial.
All right, millennial. This television teen drama set in Newport Beach, California, focused on the lives of affluent teenagers and included Misha Barton, Adam Brody, and Rachel Bilson.
Laguna Beach.
That's in
So close.
this place.
Craig for the win says the OC.
The OC is correct.
So close.
Congratulations.
Brett, great try at it. I had lost the previous 2 times on Mind the Gap, so I feel like it was inevitable that today I was going to bag a dub. But best of luck to you. Call back next week, and I hope that you win.
Try again, Brett. But have a great weekend.
Turned that game around on
Yeah.
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Wow.
Yeah, you did what Edmonton's trying to do.
That's exactly right. I rallied.
Except he came down 2-0, not 3-0.
Yeah, well,
but
still I rallied. All right, when
good.
we come back, we're going to rally for hour number 4, final hour of programming for Annie and Elsten. We're back to reset all of our Padres topics next, plus Media Melanie on the way right here on The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Final hour of the week. It's Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. Oop, shut up, me. Craig Elsten is here. So is Braden Soprano. I turned on my computer volume during the break because I had to play for Annie and Braden Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, the famous hit.
I recommend Googling that and seeing the person singing it.
I made the executive decision to not play that on air.
Okay, well, but Google it and look at the person singing. It is not who you would expect. The look doesn't match the way the song is coming out of the mouth.
Google it and you can listen to it yourself.
He kind of looks like a Tim Burton character.
He does.
Tiny
like
Tim.
a little Edward Scissorhands singing in this
Wow.
high-pitched voice.
Yeah, super high falsetto.
Yeah.
With long, stringy black hair, kind of black eyelashes. Really does look creepy. Looks like somebody that if you saw at the bar, you'd be like, whoa, you stay over there. But then he walks out with a ukulele, the weirdest instrument you could play. And he's a big guy. His name is Tiny Tim. He's like 6'3", 260 or something. And he's holding this little ukulele.
You don't expect it.
And then he starts singing in his falsetto. It was a thing. It was a real thing that happened in the 70s. And once I showed Annie the video, she then understood why I never forgot it when I saw it as a child.
And Adam Paul says he was a really nice person. Nothing against Tiny Tim.
I'm sure
he was,
Adam.
I just never had heard of him before. So,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a little piece of history for y'all from the mid-70s. Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. I'm telling you, he was on the Muppet Show or something. He was either on the Muppet Show,
he'd have gone mainstream a little bit for people
the Electric
to know him.
Company or something like that. He showed up on a
Totally
kids show, and he strang that ukulele, or maybe it was on That's Incredible. That was a variety show back when I was growing up. That's Incredible.
Was it kind of like this modern version of like
people do the craziest
the
things,
shows,
or
like where they have like the talented people do things on the stage.
Kind of,
vote.
or a video, like, oh wow, look at this amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, remember America's Funniest Home Videos? Or
Yes.
whatever?
Of course.
Great.
What happened to that? Like, I feel like you would have so much for that, like room
Still
for that
exists.
now.
It's still
does
on.
it?
Yeah.
Still exists.
It doesn't Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air
That is
hosts
correct.
it now, whatever the guy's real name is.
I will now look it up because I know this and I have forgotten it.
But you do know it's Carlton.
Yeah. Fresh Prince. Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Alfonso Ribeiro.
He hosts it now.
Yeah. My son used to watch it all the time when he was a little bit younger. So it's either playing on Nick or on one of those kids' channels. You can still watch AFV, as they call it. Just AFV.
I would think you would have so much content to choose from.
And now with everybody out with their phones, right?
Yeah.
Before
Right,
you
like,
actually get
They
something on
actually had
video
the
camera.
VCR, right?
To me, the modern version of America's Funniest Home Videos is Ridiculousness
Oh yeah.
on MTV.
That's the only show that's on MTV.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
on, like,
long
14
hour
times a
loops
day.
I
of
haven't,
ridiculousness by that. What's that guy?
Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
My
he
nephew
he's the
loves
DC guy, right?
Impractical Jokers. Have you ever seen?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that the
of
same
course.
thing?
No,
or like,
it's not the
okay,
same.
No,
no.
that's like a punked thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
kind of.
Maybe that's it. HD fan. He was on with Johnny Carson. Probably that, because my dad would watch the Johnny Carson show, so I probably saw him
Yep.
on there. Tiny Tim, but completely different. Impractical Jokers is doing candid camera things, where one guy's got a mic and they set him up in the store
Like
to
go
do
in the board meeting or the store.
or like
the-
go
Yeah,
mess
there's
with
an
people's
actor.
Got it.
like go in and take something out of their cart or stuff like that. Embarrassing, right? But funny.
Okay.
Yeah, but AFE is just nut shots with the kid in the swinging the wiffle ball bat and nailing dad in the nuts.
Yeah. Oh.
Anything with a
That's all
boat.
it is that?
Anything with a boat usually ends very poorly.
Yeah. I mean,
People
really,
get
that's what
tweaked.
ridiculousness is too. It's just people
100%.
jumping with their dirt bike and
I
landing
feel like
on their
that
nuts.
would be like Luis Camposano the last two games.
Basically, Luis Camposano could be on ridiculousness.
It's a lot of people trying to do some pretty insane things and then getting tweaked while they do it.
With that, we transition back to sports.
Okay.
The Padres beat the Brewers yesterday 7-6 in a game that kind of showed you the highs and the lows of the 2024 Padres all in one beautiful bow. You had early big offense, which is a highlight of this team, occasionally scoring big runs in the first.
That was nice to see.
Really was.
Because they had kind of gone to only doing it later in the game. But yesterday, back to doing it early.
You had inconsistent starting pitching, which has definitely been the theme of the last 20, 25 games for the San Diego Padres, with Adam Mazur starting off looking like he wasn't going to make it out of the first, and then really 2-3 innings where I thought he was almost there. Like he still walked a guy each inning, but it felt for like the second, the third, the fourth, it kind of felt like Mazur was starting to take a step toward being a big league pitcher.
I felt so. I felt like that. He threw more strikes. He, especially as the game went on, he seemed to get into a little better of a rhythm. Then he would have some walks, obviously, but there were little patches where you felt like, okay, he's in the zone more and he's trusting his stuff more. And he had a 1-2-3 inning. I can't remember which one it was, but
fourth, I think.
Yeah, like you felt like, okay, he's feeling it click a little bit, and now he'll most likely go back to the minor leagues and work on everything that he's learned in this short time up in the major leagues, and honestly come back a better pitcher probably, because that's the good thing about this right now is you have Darvish coming back, but this wasn't wasted for Adam Mazur. Like this is very normal what he's going through right now.
Absolutely. And listen, he's a young kid that the Padres didn't want to bring up. It wasn't like he had fully graduated to join San Diego. He was called up because Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish are both hurt.
Correct.
At the same time. If it wasn't for that, he'd still be pitching in AAA. And quite honestly, he was taking his lumps in AAA. This is a year for him to learn that next level up, what it means when guys don't automatically swing over the top of your slider and when they don't automatically take that 0-0 pitch for strike one.
And so interesting with him because he is a strike thrower. He's a strike thrower in the minor leagues. Every stage of development he's been in, he's been a strike thrower. I think it's good in a way that he wasn't depended on longer, because this is, to me, it's like you come up, you get a feel for it, you see where your weaknesses are, and now you have a chance to really try to address those back in the minor leagues in a very specific way that you wouldn't really have if you were just coming up and, making the team out of spring training and being in the big leagues for the first time and trying to learn the whole season. Like, he got a little bit of a crash course, but he knows now what he needs to work on before he comes back.
Couldn't agree more. And for the first time, the Padres won a game that Adam Mazur started. With Dylan Cease going today, it's just kind of a refresh that you look at Cease's last 7 starts, all of Randy Vasquez's 9 starts, the 4 starts for Adam Mazur, and you add that up, it's 20 starts. It's a 6-14 record for the Padres over those 20 games.
Yeah.
So getting a dub in that situation was huge for the San Diego Padres. Getting it the way they did was torturous, but...
and dicey.
Yeah, highly dicey. However, this was a roller coaster ride with a happy ending.
Yes.
That left you feeling fulfilled, because even though the bullpen gave up the lead, you had to know, if you're a Padres fan, if you're a 97.3 listener, if you're somebody who's there all the time, the Padres bullpen was in a really bad way going into last night, where the only choices Mike Schilt had was to either bench all of his high-leverage relievers or pitch them for a third straight day. And the 2 guys he pitched for a third straight day, Peralta and Estrada, both gave ground.
Yeah, and Mike Schultz said in his post-game presser, he asked them, and Robert Suarez absolutely should not be used a third straight day, in my opinion. But Robert Suarez said, I can be used, but I'd prefer a day off, which is totally reasonable for Robert Suarez right now, okay? But Jeremiah Estrada said, okay, I'm good to go. Let's go. And you saw, you admire the fact that he took the ball. But I agree with you. I think now you got to give him some rest. You can't, even if he says I'm good to go. Even if he says he's good to go Saturday, I don't know if you use him.
They should sit Estrada the next 2 days.
I think they should. But credit to Estrada. He comes out. He does give up the tie in the 9th, but then he's able to at least not get that runner in from second, not let that runner get in from second, and end the inning with just the score at a tie and not a lead for the Brewers. And then, the Padres offense showed back up. I mean, this was one of those where it is good to see when they get punched, they'll punch back. They did tack on runs throughout the game. Fernando had hit a home run later in the game. Jerkson with that ball that kind of got caught in the lights was a good sign, I thought, in terms of just kind of them getting a little bit of stuff going. But then there were also opportunities where you felt like they could have been out of it by quite a few runs had a few things just not gone their way.
Well, I mean, honestly, the game could have been out of hand in the top of the first inning. And we talked about this a lot in our 10:30 segment, but Manny Machado won this game for San Diego in the first inning. It wound up being a one-run game that Jake Cronenworth had to walk off, but Machado affected the run line by +4 in the first inning. First, by turning a double play that was extraordinarily hard. One of the toughest DPs I've seen turned all year, where all his momentum is taking him to the third baseline. You have a fast runner on first. You have a fast runner going up the line. There's no margin for error. He's pirouetted on his left toe. He threw all in one motion to Jake. Jake short hopped it, got the pick, turn, pivot, all in one motion, low throw, a rise pick, got it by a quarter step at first base. That would have been at minimum 2-0, but probably 3-0, and then another runner on third base, and you're probably looking at 4-0, 5-0 if he doesn't make that DP.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. It was huge of Manny. And again, those plays look so easy, but they are not. What he's doing right there is very difficult. The fact, like you said, his body does it in one motion. It's not like he planted his feet and then threw. He's just pirouetting in the air essentially and throwing the ball across him. Fires a bullet to Jake Cronenworth, who does a great job fielding it, sending it to Arise. I think too, mentally for Adam Mazur, like, the fact that he got some run support early and it did not unravel for him probably did help him in those later innings. He gives up the home run. Was it Yelich?
Adames.
Adames, yes. He gives up that home run a little bit later in the game, but he did have a few innings there where he was all right. Had a few walks, but no further damage, that sort of thing. And I got to think that going back out there for the second inning and having those runs already behind him and the Padres ahead by a decent amount was a good thing for him.
The one guy we haven't really chatted about on the show today, but still played a critical supporting role, is Jackson Merrill, who hit his 6th homer in 8 days. And
it's wild.
And Stats Inc. came up with the stat of stats that the only other 21-year-old center fielder to hit 6 homers in 8 games was one Willie Mays. So now Willie Mays and Jackson Merrill share a stat, which is crazy. Crazy. How about just, he's got 9 homers now?
And the fact that he's not, I think so.
He's out-homered Machado. He's closing in on Toddy.
The fact that he's not trying for the power. We talked a lot about Jackson Merrill earlier this season that the reasoning being that the power would come later. It could, we're talking like next year or years from now. You just let him get acclimated to hitting in the big leagues and hitting consistently and adjusting to the pitchers the way they're adjusting to him. And the way you hear Jackson Merrill talk about it after the game, and he's very blunt, which is wonderful. He's a funny guy to talk to, but he talks about he could be getting that same angle on it later on in the season and just be hitting line drives right at people. He could be doing the exact same thing. So some of it he talked about is kind of falling my way and going out. They're happy accidents is what he calls his home runs. Happy accidents because he's just trying to put the ball in play. But you can't help but wonder what this guy's going to be like if he's able to harness this power and continue to hit for average as well, his singles, his doubles, and also hit for the home runs. You can see the makings of what he could be. And the fact that he's not trying to hit the home run right now is a wonderful thing for his development in the big leagues.
I don't even know now. I thought that Jackson Merrill for 2+ months was playing kind of exactly at the 80 to 90 percentile of what I thought he could be his rookie year, hitting in the high 280s, playing way better defense than we could have counted on at a premium position, spraying the ball, bat to ball skills, not walking, taking the ball to the opposite field, a lot of singles, occasional double power, and, it's a little bit of speed, but not a ton of speed for the team. Kind of a nice balanced, straightforward, as I said back in April, like Christian Yelich rookie year type season, hit 280 with a slugger, 390-ish, like that. All of a sudden, like that paradigm is starting to disappear. And I'm not expecting him to hit another 6 home runs in another 8 games. But the idea that Jackson Merrill in his rookie year is going to finish with 13 to 16 homers now looks quite realistic and could be the low end of the number.
What's positive about Jackson is he is growing. You hear it in the conversations with him. He's learning when to take his shots, when not to take his shots. He's learning what to do in approaches depending on the situation and depending on how the pitcher is throwing at him. So I think that the fact that he's able to make the mental adjustment and the gamesmanship part of it a little bit and understanding kind of what's happening up here as fast as he has been, because he could easily be going and just trying to take hacks right now. I mean, he could easily be trying to just make something happen based on what he was able to do earlier this season. And you really see it when you talk about the Jacksons throughout this season. Jackson Holiday, Jackson Churio, Jackson Merrill has been the most consistent. And I heard a Brewers beat writer talking about, is it Holiday no, it's Churio. Who's with the
Jackson
Brewers?
Churio with the Brewers.
Jackson Churio, and how he missed all of AAA. They advanced him from AA to the big leagues, and that accounts for some of his struggles. And it's like, well, that's what they did with Jackson Merrill. he didn't play in any of AAA, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
he
skipped.
He skipped AAA, and so it's like when you kind of do a comparison and look, this could be completely reversed. These guys are still rookies. Jackson Churio could have an amazing second half of the season. I mean, and Jackson Merrill might not. Like, they're rookies growing in the big leagues. But when you just look at how they've done to start this season and what Jackson Merrill's been able to do, he is, at least right now, surpassed what you would expect from a rookie in the big leagues, having made this jump that he has this year.
What a story for the San Diego Padres, Jackson Merrill. Just an unadulterated success story for the Padres that, keep in mind, anytime you talk about him, the Padres could have dealt him any point in the last 2 years. They had a dozen, 15, 20,000 offers. You never know. Everyone wanted this kid, and they could have traded him for a reliever. They could have traded him for 3 months of a starter. They could have traded him for a 1.5-year position player rental. They did not do that. They could have traded him for salary relief. They didn't do any of that. Now they've got a star on their team that you need these stars to bridge the gap, we got to mind the gap between 2026 and 2030. The second half of this decade, Manny's going to be getting older. Xander's going to be getting older while Tatis is moving into the prime of his career. And now those can be years that Jackson Merrill is alongside as one of the stars of the team, as one of the leaders of this team. It's very exciting to think about the idea that these conservative moves in the past can lead to this great future coming up.
Yes. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder two things. What else is it? Who else is in the farm system that might be able to do this kind of thing? And also, is Jackson Merrill more the exception than the norm based on, because he kind of is. I mean, based on how rookies do, and he still has a whole second half of the season to go. I mean, it's there's a ways for him to grow and go in this in the big leagues, obviously. And no one would be surprised if he slumps a little bit through it. I mean, that's just what happens, So for the best players, not even just rookies. So, he's got a road ahead of him. But yeah, it does make you. I've seen some social media chatter about, but bringing up guys from the farm system to be like Jackson Merrill. But you got to wonder also how many are like Jackson Merrill.
Right, absolutely. And just remember, AJ will trade just about anything that's not nailed down, but he wouldn't trade this guy.
Which is great. I mean, you look at that. He doesn't like to trade away his best players, right? And so you figure that there's some that he's holding on to that he believes are going to have this kind of success.
Before we let you go, because Andy, I know you'll be heading down to the clubhouse here in just a minute. Let's just very briefly discuss this evening's game. It's Colin Ray, former Padre on the mound, former Marlin, former Padre, former Red, former someone. Anyways, he's a Brewer now. He's been fine this year. He's been another average starter. And the Brewers are kind of rolling the same guy out here 4 days in a row. They've got different names, different bodies, different parents, but they all profile about the same. As a medium-strength right-hander, sinker, slider, try and keep the ball down, try and limit damage. All the Brewers starters are there to do the same thing, to try and go 5 innings, give up 1 or 2 or 3 runs, and turn it over to their really good bullpen.
Their rotation, I learned a little bit more, has just been absolutely killed by injuries.
Correct.
So yeah, they just have guys patching holes right now, essentially.
On the other side is Dylan Cease. And in the minute left in this segment or so, like, this is a big outing for Dylan Cease, in my opinion. He has shown, and Chris had this number the other day, he has shown that he's not a stopper for this team. He's 4-6 coming off a loss this year, but now he's coming off a win. This is a chance to build momentum, and Dylan Cease has kind of killed momentum his last 6-7 starts, particularly by giving up the long ball, particularly by giving up the long ball in the first inning, hanging a slider, setting a bad tone. Tonight's a night that the Padres need a good Dylan Cease. The Brewers aren't a team completely stocked with left-handed hitters. Some of their key batters are right-handed batters, and this is a good game for Dylan Cease to get right.
Yeah, you got to feel like there's something going on. I mean, it's one time is an anomaly, 2 times, 3 times, but it's been the last 6 starts or so, right? That it's just been a struggle, kind of. And it's very unlike the Dylan Cease that we saw to start the season. So he has it in him, but it's been shaky for sure since the last month or so. So I figure he's working on it with Ruben Niebla. They're working on it, trying to get back to form, but this would be a really good one for him because, as we've been talking about, this bullpen, while some guys got to rest yesterday, you don't want to go to them too early.
All right, let's take a break. Annie, good luck down in the clubhouse.
You'll be in the very capable hands of Media Melanie, who is fantastic. And have a great weekend, everybody. I hope to see some people down at Petco Park. But yeah, I can't wait to talk Monday to see what the weekend held for all of us.
And I'm not going to even pretend to think I know. So we'll do that on Monday. Thank you so much, Annie.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you. All right, when we come back, Crossing Streams with Media Melanie, our regular Friday segment. Melanie will be standing by with a streaming television recommendation for you. We'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything as well. That's how we're going to get us to 2 o'clock and Gwen and Chris. It's Annie and Elsten right here on The Fan. I have one more liner to read. Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. It's a podcast that takes you beyond the scoreboard. Join three-time NBA champion Danny Green for insight on the association you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, get behind-the-scenes access to what life is like in the NBA. Follow Inside the Green Room with Danny Green in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. It's time for Crossing Streams with Media Melanie. This is our every Friday, 1 p.m. hour segment where we welcome in Media Melanie and give you a couple of streaming television recommendations to take into your weekend, because we all know you're going to watch plenty of sports this weekend. You probably got some great activity planned as well, but, not everyone has something planned. Maybe some of y'all just want to gather around the old television, fire up the Roku or your cable box or whatever, and watch something else this weekend. So this is what the purpose is of this particular segment that we call Crossing Streams. Here's Media Melanie joining us on the hotline right now. Happy Friday, Melanie. How are you?
I'm great, Craig. Looking forward to a nice weekend. Got some Padres baseball. We have our last All-Stars baseball weekend for my son, so it will be a busy one.
I was just going to say, if you've got All-Star weekend plus Padres, that means you're out in the morning and you're out in the afternoon.
That's right. Yep, it'll be busy. Although we are off tomorrow. It is a Fox game, so got that going for me, which is fun.
So I got that going for me, which is nice. Outstanding, yep. Melanie. Okay, good. Well, now that we're caught up on the pleasantries, let's get to the business of the moment. It is time for your weekly streaming television recommendation, and I have a feeling you're going back to the well that you thought about dipping into last week.
That's right. I wanted to watch one more episode of this one before I felt solid about recommending it. So this week I went with a new legal thriller on Apple TV Plus, Presumed Innocent. It premiered on June 12th, and there are currently 3 episodes available. It is an 8-episode limited series, and it's a TV adaptation based on the 1987 novel by Scott Turow, but it's also a 1990 movie with Harrison Ford and Bonnie Bedelia. This version stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Rusty Savage, who is a Chicago prosecutor suspected in the very gruesome murder of his colleague Carolyn, who we discover he was having an affair with. There is a very deep sense of desperation in Rusty's character as he races to investigate and clear his name. A little side note, there is a sports tie-in. Rusty is a baseball dad. He's got a son who's a pitcher, so we get a little bit of that mixed in there. And, side note, I'm not huge into Jake Gyllenhaal. If you're a Taylor Swift fan like me, you know all too well why, and you'll get this. But I do hand it to him. He really brings the white male paranoia and plays a guilty conscience character very well. Ruth Negga plays Rusty's wife, Barbara, and other notable cast members include Bill Camp as DA Ray Horgan and Rusty's boss, along with Peter Sarsgaard, Gabby Beans, and O.T. Fagbinley, who plays Luke in A Handmaid's Tale, which I love him from that show as well. Each character is very well-rounded and intentional with their role in the show. And Presumed Innocent is a David E. Kelly series. It's executive produced by J.J. Abrams. The powerhouse pair delivers a true legal thriller. It has a slightly soapy feel to it. David E. Kelly, if you know him, he's very familiar with this genre. He has a long resume of legal and courtroom dramas.
Ally McBeal, right?
Ally McBeal, exactly. Boston Legal, LA Law. I mean, he's done a ton of these type of shows. So it's very much in his wheelhouse and true to his brand. And from what I've read, the Harrison Ford movie had some issues, back in the early 90s with sexism, conservative subtext. But the new adaptation does a good job of overcoming those issues, but also keeps the core plot line intact. It also veers on its own with some plot alterations, but it does seem like there's going to be a reimagining of the movie's twist. However, we're going to have to wait to find out. Apparently, not even the critics have seen the final episode yet.
Okay.
So I'm thinking it's going to be a real departure from the movie and a twist that, maybe we are not familiar with yet. I hope so, because why else would you remake this again? But you can catch new episodes of Presumed Innocent Wednesdays on Apple TV Plus now through July 24th.
It's really interesting, and I was waiting to hear this recommendation, to be honest with you, Melanie, because Presumed Innocent came out my senior year in high school, 1990. I went to this movie in the theaters. It was a very good movie. As you said, it's got a known twist at the end of it that is quite famous. And so when I heard that they were going to do this, but like 6 or 7 hours instead of, a 2-hour film, I kind of wondered why.
Why exactly?
Just why? I can watch the movie from 1990 again if it's going to be the exact same story, but just 3 times as long. I could cut my viewing in a third and just watch the movie back. But what you're telling me is not only have they kind of maybe sanded down some of the 1990 edges of the film, but they've also expanded on it, and maybe, just maybe, or at least they have to dangle this in front of us. Maybe it's not the finish that it was in the film.
In my opinion, it has to be different because, like you said, what is the purpose of remaking this film if they're not going to do something different? So I'm really hopeful that it will be something that none of us are expecting and that does depart from the film.
Presumed Innocent on Apple TV Plus. I will start that then this weekend because Woodsy, by the way, has told me he thought it was, it's been really good so far. He texted me in the middle of the week, and I was like, I'm going to wait because I'm pretty sure Melanie's going to talk about it. On Friday.
You were right. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna dive into that pool yet. I'm gonna wait and see if Melanie tells me if it's a shallow floor or if it's worth diving into. So that's outstanding, and I appreciate that recommendation, Melanie. I'll tell you what I've been watching this week, and it's something that I waited a decade to get to. And I've heard for a very, very long time is one of the best series of the golden age of television of the mid-2010s when all of these incredible series came out. And I'm about halfway through the first season now and ready to talk about it, which is *Halt and Catch Fire*. Did you ever watch *Halt and Catch Fire*?
I did not, so I'm eager to hear all about it, Craig.
Okay, well, *Halt and Catch Fire* is a series that had 4 seasons on AMC. It was running around the same time as *Mad Men*, so it was one of those shows that, like, *Mad Men* was on, and then *Halt and Catch Fire* would come on, and I never watched *Halt and Catch Fire*, and I never had a really good reason why I didn't, and I had also heard that it was quite good along the way, but it's just one of those shows that slipped through the radar for me. We're taking you to the very early 1980s and the beginning of the personal computing era in the world and in the United States. And we are following some employees, at least in the very first part of the first season, at a fictional company, Cardiff Electric, that is a small-time competitor to places like IBM, Texas Instruments, etc. The companies that were players in the personal computing era in the early 1980s when people were first starting to buy computers for their homes. Lee Pace is the lead star of *Halt and Catch Fire*, the very handsome, tall British actor, uses an American accent here, to play Joe McMillan, who we meet in the pilot, applying for a job as the lead salesman at Cardiff Electric, coming from IBM. But he has bigger ideas. He has ideas to create a personal computer that will rival what IBM is putting in households, and he teams up with Scoot McNairy, who plays Gordon Clark, one of the best engineers at this fictional company. They, though, need somebody that's going to write code for them, and they enlist a young punk rock style maverick played by Mackenzie Davis, who plays Cameron Howe, who is kind of a young genius on the show. Fourth key character is the wife to Gordon Clark, Donna, played by Carrie Bechet, who is also terrific. So Lee Pace, Scoot McNairy, Mackenzie Davis, Carrie Bechet, you're talking about 4 incredible actors. The first season is focusing on their rush to try and create this computer, but basically before the company goes bankrupt because IBM has put the push on them. There's a lot of forward momentum on this show. I'm into the 5th episode of the first season. And the thing I will tell you, Melanie, is that I am very, very much enjoying this first season. And I think one of the reasons I never started the show is because all the analysts, all the reviewers say that starting in the second season, the show takes a leap from good to incredible. But I'm here to tell you that the first season is really good. So if it's going to take a quantum leap from here, it's going to be one of the best shows around. That's what a lot of people have said about *Halt and Catch Fire*. So if you're looking for something and you're not looking for something new necessarily, *Halt and Catch Fire* is my current binge, and I'm really into it.
That sounds great. And wow, what a great cast. I've heard good things about this as well, so might have to add it to my watch list too. It's a good one.
You got to add it on. Halt and Catch Fire, Presumed Innocent. Each week we recommend something to one another, and then we come back the next week and I'm like, well, did you watch it? Or you're like, well, did you watch mine? And then we go back and
Craig,
forth.
we might need to do a mid-year kind of recap, right, on our favorites of the year so far. It's hard to believe we're almost halfway through the year.
We're almost there, Melanie. We're absolutely going to do that. We can do that either next week or I'm off the week after, and it would be the week following. But maybe we just do that next Friday.
Yeah, that sounds fun. We'll chat about it and figure it out.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Let everyone know where they can follow you on your way out.
You can follow me at Media Melanie on all the social platforms and visit MediaMelanieTV.com for my newly launched YouTube channel.
Love it. Let's go. Follow Media Melanie on YouTube. Click subscribe. Hit that like button. Let's go. Melanie, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Craig. Sounds good. Bye.
There she goes. Media Melanie off into the ether. And we come back for one more segment of Annie and Elsten on a Friday, and it's time for Ask Us Anything. And hey, Annie's not here, so it's now Ask Me and Braden Anything. So give us a call, 833-288-0973. You have 8 minutes to call the show. It's 142 right now. We'll give you to 150 to call the show, 833-288-0973. If you do call in the next 8 minutes, we will screen you up and we will take your call on Ask Us Anything. Then we will hand it off to Gwen and Chris. And we out of here. Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Saturday coming up tomorrow. Great chance for you to put on your roller skates. Get out there and enjoy it. Roller skating jam called Saturdays. De La Soul bringing us into our last segment of the day.
You know who's got roller skating right now?
Who?
The Dell.
Really?
The Hotel Dell's got roller skating right now. I just saw an ad for it. It's like in the front, I think. Not in the back where usually, but instead of ice skating, they have, like they do in the wintertime, they have some roller skating.
Little
right
roller
now.
rink?
Yes. How about that?
I like it. Get on your skates. Remember when people had roller blades? That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
The roller blades.
Yeah, roller rink at the Dell, summer activities.
When I was a kid growing up, having roller skates was the thing. And then sometime in high school or junior high school, it was like, no, you are so lame if you have four wheels on your feet. You need the blades. You need the blades. And now it's back to four wheels, I think. Now four wheels are cool again.
Yeah. So you can roller skate at the Dell from June 14th to September 2nd. Be all summer long. They got theme nights and stuff, too. Disco Fevers on Saturdays, Throwback Thursdays. I guess most roller skating is probably throwbacks, but they got a lot of different events. If you want to go check it out, you can go check it out. But I didn't realize they had that. I saw an ad for it. I'm like, oh, that's some fun summer stuff.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. Let's hit the bumper. Here we go. We got about 4.5 minutes left in the show. We sent out the number, 833-288-0973. These folks called in. Here's Neil in San Carlos. Good afternoon, Neil. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday, gent.
Indeed.
So my question for you is, if you could put the toothpaste back into the tube and roll back one trade in Padres history, which one would you roll back?
Oh, my gosh. Roll back one trade in Padres history. Just erase it from the universe.
Yeah.
I got to think for a second. Braden, do you have a one top of mind? Because I feel like there's one I'm going to miss off the top of my head.
Well, there's so many bad ones.
I've got it. Trey Turner for Will Myers.
That one's tough.
Yeah, just get Trey Turner's whole career and ditch Will Myers. I think that's...
Yep. Yeah, but if we saw Trey Turner, they would have never got Tatis.
You never know. Either way.
That's a good point, Neil.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Point.
I would go with... I'm probably going to lean more towards Adrian Gonzalez to the Red Sox. Because that was just... It was the one guy they should have locked up to a long-term deal for like that time frame of Padres baseball era that never did. I know there was like they couldn't have the money to pay him to be what he needed to be to set the mark. I get all that, but that one to me would be the one.
Can I give you another one?
The other one I would do would be Jake Peavy, but yes.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I'm okay with the Adrian deal because the Adrian deal brought the next great first baseman to San Diego. But then they traded him for Andrew Kashner.
Right.
And Rich McGuire is on it right there. How about Rizzo for Kashner? That's one of the dumbest trades the Padres ever made. They gave up Anthony Rizzo's whole career. And I know that the second stanza of Anthony Rizzo's career hasn't been Hall of Fame like the first stanza was, but my goodness, how much better would this team have been just with Anthony Rizzo at first instead of the mess that we threw in there really almost every year until we got to where we are now.
Yeah. It would have been great to have a local product be the face of the franchise for like 10, 15 years.
That would... Rizzo, we miss you. Good question. Here's George in San Diego. Hi, George. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Well, thank you so very much. It's great to be with you guys. You guys have a wonderful program. Quick question for you, Craig. I loved your work that you did with the Gulls, and in that spirit, I wanted to ask, because I hadn't really heard much about it, the unexpected passing of Nick Cardillis. I have a signed Gulls hockey puck from him, and when that passing of his occurred, I felt so sad, a real emptiness, and just wanted to know any of your personal recollections of him.
You know, I was right there with Nick, for 3 years. He was a big part of that Gulls team all those 3 years. He just started that third year to get some call-ups. I remember very specifically us arriving in San Jose in the second round of the playoffs, and he was at the airport already getting ready to leave to go join the Ducks for a playoff run. Nick went on, of course, what was her name? Chesley, I believe, the reality star. They got they got together. They got married. He became a licensed real estate broker in the Tennessee area, Nashville area. He was young, just getting ready to start a family, and it was just a great kid. One of those good kids that you meet along the way, George. And I tell you what, just what a damn shame.
Yeah, that's what I felt as well, and I just know that you were close to him, so I wanted to get your thoughts because it sort of kind of flew under the radar with everything else that goes on. But anyway, you guys keep up the great work. All of God's blessings to you and yours.
Appreciate it, George, and right back at you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody who supports this program. Like to say that to wrap up the show on every Friday. We're here. We're blessed to be here. It is a privilege to be here. We recognize it. We do not take it for granted in any way. To come in, talk ball with y'all, have fun, play silly games, laugh. Couldn't do it without the great work of Braden Soprenet. Couldn't do it without my partner, Annie Heilbrunn. So thank you, everybody in the listening audience and the viewing audience on YouTube, everybody listening on the podcast. Thank you all for making this show what it is. Gwen and Chris are coming up next on a Friar Friday. Stay right here, friends. This has been Annie and Elsten. Go Padres.